John, just give me okay.
Welcome back to the Big Deal podcast. I'm Codie Sanchez. And I found out something fascinating the other day, which is that 87% of you guys, people who watch our episodes, are not subscribed to this channel. So I have an ask for you all. If you could subscribe to the channel, this is the way that we grow. We can have bigger guests. We can hire the right team members. And it's only really through you guys doing this one simple thing. So if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, can I ask you a favor this week? Can you hit that subscribe button? Thank you. Truly, we can't do this without you. You've built sleeper businesses basically as a career, it feels like. You know, crazy side hustles, then grew them into actual companies. These are cash flow producing, non-venture backed companies. Almost anybody could start if they were willing to take the risk and do the hard thing of actually working them. Is there one that you're like currently obsessed with now? Or is there like a business that you're obsessed with at the moment?
Man, it's like asking which kid is my favorite. I just love business. So so I was in Cameron, Missouri last week, population 8,000 people. I pull into this hardware store and I see this cute couple, 30s, kids out by the road selling pizzas, right? I have like an outdoor kitchen with an authentic pizza oven. I geek out over it. And so I had to talk to these guys. They've got like a $700 pizza oven, a $100, like a pop-up canopy, and they're just slinging these authentic pizzas. And so I'm like, how much money are you making here? And $700 a day. Their kids make the pizzas, they wave signs. And I said, well, what do you pay? They're in the parking lot of a hardware store. What do you pay to be here? Well, nothing. Like, they just hope that we can bring them customers and they bring us customers. This is like middle of nowhere, middle America, right? Like, and they're making $700 a day, 80% margins, selling pizzas from an oven that they bought at Home Depot, right? Like, I just love stuff like that because who couldn't do that? Like, who couldn't do that business if they really had to make some money?
Isn't that wild? And if you just like, for people who aren't, who are public school math kids like me, I mean, if you take, let's round it to 1,000 times 30 days in a month, we're talking about that's a $30,000 a month business.
Yeah.
If you have 80% margins, we're talking about you're taking home a top 1% level salary, $200,000+.
But how many people in Cameron, Missouri are saying, there's just no opportunities here?
I know. You know what else kills me that I think you prove a lot and is like one of the missions of this company? It's like your shirt. You can just do things. And in fact, I think you'll be shocked by how often people don't charge you.
Yeah.
Like we did this whole experiment with vending machines where we put vending machines in a bunch of different locations. And then we did videos about them and shared the numbers. And everybody was like, you left out the rent. I'm like, I didn't pay rent.
Yeah.
I know that you can theoretically, and you might have to sometimes, but like, I just didn't in this case. And so I love that story. I was curious for you, is there one business that you've seen like ever that you're just like, this business is such a sleeper and almost anybody could start it?
So a year ago, we own a tree trimming business, right? And tree trimming businesses are great. I call it a binary outcome, right? The customer needs a tree gone. You show up, the tree's gone, 5-star review, invoice paid, right? Whereas other businesses, it's just like custom home building. It's not. There's so much that could go wrong. But stump grinding is kind of a pain in tree trimming because, if you're a tree trimmer, you got a truck with a chainsaw, and if you got to grind the stump, it's like, I got to go to the rental place, put it on my trailer, gas it up, pay $300 to rent it, charge $300 to grind it. It's just a pain. So I was talking with my business partner about this, and we thought, I bet there's a world where you could be a business-to-business stump grinding business. And that wasn't really a thing, right? So we were just riffing on this on my podcast, and as an experiment, because I'm curious and I have to get my questions answered, right? So I scraped every tree trimming business in Houston, and I'm in Dallas. And so I wanted like a sister city that was comparable. And I hired a virtual assistant to call up every tree trimming business and say, hey, who grinds your stumps? Do you own a stump grinder? Do you rent them? Theoretically, if you could ever outsource that entirely to a stump grinding business that only served tree trimming businesses, would you do it? If so, what would you pay? And the results were incredible. Like 20% of these tree trimmers would love to outsource it. And so we were just talking about this, and people went out and started business-to-business stump grinding businesses based on this theory and research. And this one guy made $300,000 his first year. And he rented the thing and he rented the trailer and he wasn't wealthy, but he's making like 60, 70% margins grinding stumps for these tree trimming businesses.
I love it. Well, boring businesses that's my love language.
Yeah.
But what I think is interesting is two things. One, it doesn't take that much to get the research, right? You literally just cold called, or in this case, because you have an assistant, had somebody else cold call a bunch of people and ask them 3 or 4 questions. And the other case of the pizza company, you just were willing to do the thing most people won't, which is how much revenue do you make a day?
Yeah.
Like how often do people not give you the answer to that question? I'd be curious.
Rarely, honhonestly.
Right?
You just have to ask.
I would say it's like 95% of the time they tell you. And why? Because they're proud of it.
Yeah.
Like if you've ever ran a business and you know what it feels like to actually get somebody to pay you for your service, how hard it is.
Yeah.
You want to tell people.
Yeah.
I am old now. And so my back has been hurting, which is so on par. And so I go to this PT. And he was telling me a story about his background. And I'm like, that's incredible. And I started telling him the percentage of businesses that actually hit 100,000, then 1 million, then 10 million a year. It's kind of rare, actually. And so he was like, can I tell you my revenue number? And I was like, yeah, tell me, what is it? He's like, 310,000. I'm like, that's amazing because you don't have any employees either, right? So he's got an 80% margin business.
Amazing.
Right?
Yeah.
Now with your tree trimming business, when did you start that?
2 years ago.
And how much cash did you have to start it with?
I had cash to start it with, but I grew up poor, right? And so I always like to say constraints equal creativity. And I've never been VC funded. I've tried to raise money. It's a lot harder than people think. And so I've been forced to be creative, right? And that's never left me. Now to this day, like I can afford to do certain things, but I'm so cheap and or willing to be creative that I don't have to. So with the tree trimming business, I had a truck. I found a young, hungry entrepreneur that had just graduated from college, and I knew how to start it because I had helped a friend do it as a favor a couple of years prior. And so we didn't own a chainsaw. We still don't own a chainsaw. We just found subcontractors and subbed it all out to them. And so
can you explain what that is, subcontractors, if people don't know?
Yeah, so we just found tree trimming businesses that did the work themselves. And we just said, hey, we're going to quote $1,600 for this. What would you quote? $800. Okay, cool. We're just going to mark up all of your quotes to us 100%. And we'll take that margin. We'll bring you jobs. We'll keep you busy. Cool.
Yeah, that's wild. And now how big is that business? Do you share the revenue numbers?
Yeah, I mean, we're doing $500,000 a year.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And this is you and a kid who was in college?
Yeah, he's the operating partner.
And how old is he now?
He's 23.
Wow.
Yeah, he had no experience in the industry.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And do you think, what's the formula? So let's say somebody right now has no money or they've lost all their money and they want to go out and start a business. What is the formula that you need to be able to have a cash flowing business that you start?
Yeah. Well, you can't have no money and pride. That doesn't work, right? So you have to be willing to work and you have to be humble enough to go ask people for things or to go sell. If you have pride and you're broke at the same time, I don't know what to do for you, right? So the formula is to be curious about the world and to answer those questions you have about these potential opportunities immediately, right? You're familiar with habit stacking, right? If we want to do 20 push-ups every morning, we should probably do it right after we brush our teeth because pairing those two habits together makes us more likely to do it. So I'm only kind of connecting the dots looking back. I didn't do this intentionally, but as I look back on why I've started so many things, it's because I genuinely love commerce, business, entrepreneurship. And so I'll go to a restaurant and wonder, man, how much are these guys doing? And then I'll answer that question immediately. I pair the habit of getting the question with the habit of answering it. And then that kind of trains me to act, to have a bias for action. And then if you stack that up over years, you end yourself having started 75 businesses, and it can get a little stressful, but it's very fun.
That's okay. You could kill some babies, right?
Yeah.
Or sell them. That's my preferred method.
That's right.
God, I've started and bought so many businesses. And it's why we stopped saying how many businesses we own. Because I'm like, if I say 30 today, I know that 2 of those businesses I'm probably going to sell.
Yep.
I might close another one. And it started to feel like not very authentic.
Yeah.
And then also, it's not always a good thing to own 26 businesses.
Yeah.
It's probably better to own 1 or 3 that are way bigger
I agree.
than 26. So I was like, people think it's cool. I'm like, man, something's always going wrong. So it's not, just start with 1, just 1. So if, in that instance, I'm sort of curious, you started this business with this guy. How did the guy, show that he was competent enough to be your operator. So if like somebody young is watching this and they're like, man, I want to go pitch Chris or Cody or whatever rich person I know on a business to start.
Yep.
What do I have to present in order for you to say, I'm going to give you 50% of this company?
Yeah. I kind of regret what I'm about to say, but it's the truth. So I've noticed a direct correlation, you probably have too, between the people that have just gone all out to get my attention and then their performance after I hire them or partner with them, right? Whereas some reach out kind of half-heartedly.
Yeah.
And it's like, sometimes I've hired them in the past and it was just, they kind of did a half-hearted job. But the people that are like, just blowing me up everywhere. Like, I will do this. I will do this. Like, I promise I'll be your hardest worker. I don't know anything. I'm humble, but I'm willing to do all the work. That was James. He had never had a home service business. He had like flipped iPhones on Facebook Marketplace, but he was just hungry. And so I like to look for humility, gratitude, someone who's like, I'm just so grateful for this opportunity, and some sort of an entrepreneurial gene, right? Because I don't want to make them entrepreneurial. They have to have that. If they have those three things, then it's almost 100% certain they'll be successful.
Yeah, I always loved the Munger quote where he says, if you're going to have a mistress, pick an old one because she'll be grateful for it. And I think that it's true of business partners too. He used to, describe Buffett as the best thing that we have in our partnership is we're both grateful for it. I think that's true in marriage. It's true in business.
Absolutely.
And so if you could optimize for intelligence, history, sophistication, or hunger and gratitude, go left, not right. Love that. Okay, so let's say that there's somebody listening who has zero time on their hands. Maybe they actually have money, but they don't have time. What business would you tell them to do, or what would you tell them to start?
That's a good question. I would say that they should start liquidating things. Buying things from like Costco overstock. There's a half a dozen websites out there that sell pallets of returned items, defective items, or items that might be perfect. You just don't know. Like you could buy a pallet full of Blackstone grills for $100, right? And so someone like that has some money to buy stuff like that, and it doesn't have a lot of time. They can start by selling a few things on the side, and learning how it all works, and then partnering with someone like James, my business partner in the tree business, to do it for him. But I think it's very important that you don't outsource things too quickly. You really got to get in the weeds so you can recognize the weeds before you get out of the weeds, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I do think it's really hard to hire well until you've done well.
Yeah.
And so first do good, then hire good. I think that's a really good point. Yeah, and you kind of have highlighted all these different businesses. I want to go over some of the best in the works. We actually took one of your ideas off of Twitter. We didn't give you enough credit for it. So we got an internet duel. But and we did it here in the office.
Yeah.
And we basically, the idea was, can you buy things off Facebook Marketplace and have AI do everything for you? And my too long didn't read at the end was like, no, like you got to, there's some human
Still
in the
early.
loop. Yeah.
Yeah.
But for people who are entrepreneurs and hungry, I think both you and I, it was like, this is wild.
Yeah.
Like once you start to play the game, you realize just that 20% off your stack is so valuable.
Yeah.
So if like right now you had to look at all the side hustles, all the businesses that exist, what do you think are the three best, most underrated side hustles?
Okay. All right. So you say right now, I'm going to take that literally. So we're in August, and I came across this woman last year who decorates porches with pumpkins. Have you seen that?
Oh, yeah, I saw it because of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Dallas chick, wasn't she?
Heather. We've since become friends. And she's making over $1 million a year just buying wholesale pumpkins from someone that anyone could Google and find a wholesale pumpkin supplier. Buys them by the truckload and decorates them on porches. And it's a beautiful business because it's so visual. If you put your iPhone on a tripod, put it on time lapse, post that to Instagram, the algorithm loves it, right? So there's all your customers. And that's what she's done. And she does an amazing job, and she's an amazingly hard worker. So I'm not downplaying, like, it's just a good idea. Anyone can do it. It's very profitable. She charges between $600 and $1,300 to decorate a porch with pumpkins. I'm a customer. My wife loves it. And I love this opportunity because you could start with almost nothing, an Instagram account, little money for pumpkins, and then you could make it not seasonal. She prefers for it to be seasonal. She wants to be with her family during Christmas, but there are people that do this for Christmas decorations. I talked to a guy in Pennsylvania that does it for flower. Front porch flower decorations. He charges a few $100s a quarter, and he'll swap out flowers every month.
I'd pay for that.
Yeah. And he's in Long Island. This stuff would work anywhere. And it's very visual. It goes viral very naturally. That's one, because it's high margin, it's unique, and you don't need a lot of money to do it.
You know what the other thing about that one is? When you don't have a lot of money, you don't realize how much money other people have.
Yeah.
And that they want, the thing about rich people, they want to spend their money.
Yep.
And so I remember when I was broke and poor, the idea of some mom putting $1,300 to put pumpkins on their front yard in Dallas would be crazy. And then you drive in Highland Park and you're like, these bitches, they spend a lot more than $1,300, right?
Yeah.
Dallas decorations are another brand, but every state has city centers like that.
Yep.
So that's really smart. Okay, so first we're going front porch decoration.
All right. So I met this guy in Utah that this is a business you could literally start with no money. And I mean that genuinely. As long as you have a friend with a truck or a trailer, and you have some humility, like we talked about, he goes on Facebook Marketplace and he buys washers and dryers, or he'll get them for free because people give them away all the time. They're moving, their lease ends tomorrow, they got to get it out, right? And then he goes back to Facebook Marketplace and rents them out for $100 to $200 a month to people that live in apartments, that have hookups, that don't want to buy it because they're afraid it's going to break. He rents them out, and he's making 6 figures a year. Working 5 hours a week. He has another company. He has an RV park. He's doing all kinds of stuff. This is just one of his businesses. But what's more approachable than that? You're going to have to carry a washer upstairs. It's going to be hot. It's going to suck. You're going to have some that get stolen from you. But find me a business that doesn't have problems. Right? I'm still waiting for that one.
Find me a job that doesn't have problems. Let's go low level. Okay, I like it. What do we think about the third one? I like also that there's one that women are going to do. You're probably not decorating pumpkins on a porch. Your wife might though.
Yeah.
And then your wife is probably not schlepping big machines.
Yep.
But you might.
Yep.
Okay, what's our third?
Okay, so HVAC companies. They have these service contracts, either commercial or residential, where they check in every 6 months, make sure everything is working. Part of that contract is they have to clean the coils on the outside of the units. That's just like a preventative maintenance. But that's a pain for them because you got to have water. You got to hook up water. You got to have chemicals. And it just doesn't go into their normal workflow. So this guy that I met, he owned a pressure washing company. He started doing that for HVAC companies and saying, I'll just do all your coil cleaning. And then he got a grocery store customer just by walking into the grocery store. Can I talk to the manager? Who does your coil cleaning? These guys, but they forget sometimes. They hate doing it. It's the worst part of their job. But that's another good framework, right? Find a business that does something, find the things that they hate doing, and just kind of unbundle that, right? So now this guy, his whole business is washing the coils outside of these grocery store HVAC units. And he says that he never loses a customer. It pays him, I think it's like $500,000-$600,000 a year in this random rural area that you would never think this opportunity exists. And he's like, this is my secret weapon. And he's owned a bunch of businesses. He's like, this is the best business I've ever had.
That's so interesting. You know what else is true also? You go up the ladder of entrepreneurship. And so when somebody's like, that's a terrible business, which I hear sometimes. I'm like, maybe for you, if you're making $1 million a year and you're a software engineer, probably not a great business for you. But one of my favorite businesses back in the day was a podcast production studio. I bought part of it. It was great. It was a service business. Actually, the podcast production was all remote. So it was just you ship in the video edits and they would edit for you, thumbnail, title, etc. So I owned part of that business and then I sold it back to the owner at some point. People are like, why? If you're making a couple $100,000 a year in a business, why? It was just too small at that stage. And so, but for Jonathan, the guy who took it over, he still runs that business. He loves that business. Yeah. And he's really happy at the level. He actually doesn't want it to grow. He's like, $500K a year business, perfect. I don't want anything else. And so I think people underestimate how there's not everybody has a size 10 shoe. You're probably
12 and a half.
What? You're tall. That's big. Right. Yeah, it'd be kind of weird if you had a size 6,
It'd be weird.
Yeah, I can't let the internet know that if that was the case. It would roast you. Okay, let's talk about worse businesses. So if you had no money again, or were just starting out, but we're going to save people decades of mistakes and hours, what are the businesses that you would never touch with a 10-foot pole?
I'm going to talk about binary outcomes again. Okay, so, oh man, I had a third-party logistics business once. And basically e-commerce brands would come to us and we would store their products in a warehouse, pick, pack, and ship them out for them, right? Oh. We were doing $400,000 a month and not making any money. It was a miserable business because it did not have binary outcomes. So the business owner, our customer, was like so emotionally invested in his inventory. Hey, I did that big sale. Why haven't they shipped yet? Hey, these went to the wrong address. Hey, my inventory went stale because maybe it was food. Are you keeping track of these expiration dates? There were hundreds of things that could go wrong. And literally, if you click the wrong thing, you could ship 3,000 packages to 3,000 wrong homes. Ask me how I learned that, right? And those aren't our packages, which makes it even worse, right? Yeah. So we were making all this money top line, with no profit, losing money, right? It was not a binary outcome. It's not a simple business. We were competing with like Amazon. Who's going to do that? So anything, like I've started 75, 80 businesses. The common thread between all of them are just non-binary outcomes. Too complex, not simple.
Yeah. Okay. So worst is 3PL. What's your second and third?
Oh man, house cleaning.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Why house cleaning?
It was just a lot of ways to screw up. It was.
I guess same thing.
Yeah. There's a hair, you left a hair on the floor.
Oof.
Or you scuffed the baseboard. No, we didn't. That was there first. Like, all for $150, you know? Yeah. Like there are businesses where that stuff is worth it. Yeah. Right? Where like those headaches are worth it. But if it's low ticket and complex, stay away.
Yeah.
Right.
I agree with that. What's the third?
Custom home building.
Oh, yeah. Did you ever do that?
Yeah. Well, I had a business partner that was a custom home builder and he branched off and we started starting one together. And that was like headache to the extreme, right? On one hand, you have a homeowner that's putting their life savings in something that they're going to live in forever. Mm-hmm. These were nice homes. And on our side, we had permit issues, weather issues, subcontractor issues, insurance issues, so many things that could go wrong. And I've built a custom home for myself. I've been on both sides of it. Stay away. Like high ticket, but even at like $1 million home, it's just not worth it.
What price point home do you think it starts becoming worth it?
Multiple millions.
Yeah. I think that's almost the secret in every business is that if you're not, it's not if you're not good, but like, you have to have enough margin in the business to be able to deal with all of the headache from mistakes. Yes. And like more margin, more you can handle mistakes. Yeah. Like you're like, all right, you pay me enough for that, right?
Yeah.
And so I think, I have a couple of friends that are custom home builders, but they're at the $10 to $12 million mark. And at that amount, you're making millions of dollars on every home. You're like, sure, Nancy, the tile's wrong. Ship it back to Italy. No problem, right?
Because your margin affords it. Yeah.
Right. But if you're doing it on $1 million home, which to young Codie, I'd be like, that's so much money.
Yep.
Not in home building. It's not. So you actually can't get compensated enough for that. And that's the real magic of entrepreneurship is getting enough reps where you can kind of just look at a business and go, oh, that's not going to work that way.
Yep.
And the only way to do that is just to get in the game, right?
Yeah, you got to, and stay in the game.
Yeah, and keep playing it. The richest people in the world didn't just build, they bought. They didn't come from riches. They used other people's money and a ridiculous amount of sweat. People will tell you you can't. Yet didn't you know there isn't a multi-billion-dollar business out there that didn't do some type of acquisition? Amazon, 110 companies bought. Facebook, 96. The Sage of Omaha himself started buying a gumball route. They didn't listen to those who said they couldn't. They found aging owners, made connections, took risk, repeated. Today, the hardest thing to do isn't buy a company. It's start and keep a profitable business. Around here, we don't hope and pray for profits. We buy them. Real businesses, 56,000 of them, real profits, custom deal box so you can swipe left and right at your pleasure, maps find businesses close to you, off-market deals where no one else is even looking. This is how you become an owner. Let's talk about, dude, I heard a ridiculous story of yours that you're like, which one?
It's probably true.
About Texas snacks and the Buc-ee's heist.
Yeah. Oh, heist. That's a good word. I like that. So for those that aren't familiar with Buc-ee's, it's a chain of gas stations. They do billions of dollars a year from 50 locations, right? It's just an amazing business, privately held. And it's an amazing brand. It's like a Disney, right? They have a great brand. And so I went there 6 years ago and I walked in and with my cousin, who's also a business nerd. And we were like, he said, he's like, do you know Disney sells like I'm making this up, I don't remember the number, but like 15 billion a year of shirts. I was like, I didn't know that. That's crazy. I wonder how much these guys sell online of their shirts. So we go to their website, and I distinctly remember there's no shop button. It's like, where do you buy these shirts? And these gas stations are in these far-flung rural areas. And so you can't get to it unless you're going down to the beach, right? And so that was just like a light bulb moment. And it was at this time that I was running that fulfillment business. And so we thought, wow, we need to get them as a customer. And instead of just like fulfilling their products, we're going to bring them online and fulfill their products. This could be a white whale for us, right? So I start reaching out to the executive team. No response. So we're like, what if we just try to get their attention by launching the business for them, and then just cold emailing reporters and saying, Buc-ee's won't answer us, so we're going to launch this business for them.
Good.
Yeah. And his first question is like, Chris, we're going to get sued. And I was like, that's going to be a good story though, right? If we get sued, then we can just say, okay, leave me alone. I'm done.
Exactly.
I'm done. But I was like, but what if we don't get sued? It could be a big business. It could be a big partnership. It could be tens of millions of dollars. Who knows? And so my business partner and I, we bought one of everything from the store near my house. It cost about $3,000. I hired a photographer for $200. We took pictures of everything in their store, put it on a website, cold emailed reporters and said, we want to get Buc-ee's attention. So we're selling everything that they own online for them. And they said, that's a great story. We had a dozen news outlets write about us, and we went viral and did $200,000 of sales in our first month. And we do millions of dollars a year now, 5 years later.
You're still doing it today?
Yeah. It's a great business.
I bet. So you're the one responsible for all the Buc-ee's merch I now see all over the country.
That's right. We don't have like an official partnership with them, but we have an understanding, and they support us. They help us buy it in bulk, but we just resell it. We go to one of their stores, we load up a box truck full of pallets, bring it back to our warehouse, and sell it online, ship it all over the world.
That is insane.
Yeah.
So you're not even actually their like licensed provider?
Nope.
That's so Texas.
Yeah.
I love that. They're
Very
like,
Texas.
yeah, fuck it. You're going to buy it at a full price. Go ahead, man.
Yep.
Oh my God, that's so good.
I like doing things where like worst case is a good story,
Yeah.
because most people don't have good stories, right?
That's such a good way to think about it.
Yeah.
Because that is the game of entrepreneurship.
Do it for the story. Someone put that on a t-shirt. Do it for the story.
Yeah. I think the kids say do it for the plot. I think that's
Sure.
what the Gen Zers say today. That's what my non-Gen Zers in this room say. But they, I think you're right. You know, a lot of times, I'm sure you get asked this question too. Well, I want to create content and be on the internet. So what do I talk about? I'm like, if you want to be interesting, you got to do interesting shit.
Yeah.
So before you get online and like try to talk about a bunch of stuff you haven't done, go do the thing.
Yeah.
Because you're not suffering from stories.
Right.
Why? Because you're
Yeah.
doing wild things
Yeah.
all the time. Yeah, I'm trying really hard to get one of our portfolio companies, Pinks, and they're a window cleaning company.
Mm-hmm.
They have an incredible brand. And I'm trying to get them, I'm like, all the dudes are good looking, right? They're like good looking, young, wholesome guys. I'm like, we need a sudsy calendar. Like, I think
that's
it
a great
would
idea.
kill it. You know what I should
Yeah.
do? Do their photos without their permission and put it on the
You
internet.
should. You should.
I'm going to say, Chris made me do it. But I laughed with them because, you know, we're moving into commercial. So they do a lot more commercial work now, but they do a lot of residential. And that usually goes through the lady of the house.
Yeah.
And there's this like idea of a cute pool boy that's already been created in the zeitgeist, right? You don't exactly go, God, my window cleaner was a real looker yesterday.
Yeah.
That's not like a thing. But with this company, you kind of do. So we've played into it slightly with the marketing, and it's funny and it's cute.
Yeah.
And most of these guys are like Christian, married, super wholesome, but they do it for the plot. They like don't take themselves that serious.
Yeah.
And so the two founders, you know, you have like, I don't know, 170 locations or something now. And their one business does $3 million a year, just like their Austin-based business. But they're doing kick flips and, you know, putting ridiculous thing in their Instagram because they don't have a lot of ego about it.
Yeah.
They're not too precious, and they do it for the plot. Do it for the
That's so
story.
good.
All right, somebody make a shirt for Chris.
Do it. Yeah. Do it
Yeah,
for this.
we'll wear it on the podcast. All right. Did you get into go? Tell me.
No, I was with the Pinks guys. I have an idea, so I got to get it out.
Tell me.
Yeah, so you should make those calendars.
Yeah.
because that would be viralable.
Wouldn't it?
Right? It would be
Okay,
so
thank
good.
you. I thought so.
And then you should take your whole customer database and find commonalities by the zip code of like what type of they probably already know this, but like our average customer has a $732,000 home. We charge $350 a quarter. That's $1,400 a year, and they stay for 5 years.
Yeah.
Right? So $7,000 lifetime value. Right? Okay. what would we pay to acquire that customer? Let's say $500. What does it cost to print and ship a calendar? Let's say $20. Okay, worst case. They should scrape all of the homes that fit that criteria, the demographic of the owner, the race, the gender, everything, and permissionlessly ship them that calendar for free.
It's such a good
And
idea.
they're going to hang it, and they're going to look at that Pink's logo every time they see it.
And they're going to put it on Instagram.
And
They're going to
put it on
tag that
Instagram,
everywhere.
and that $20 could return $20,000, right? Why wouldn't you do that?
100%. Well, that is the thing, I think about it a lot here at this company. So I'm in finance. So, I bought companies, I sold companies. I never really thought about marketing. In finance, you don't do ads.
Yeah.
You don't market.
You can't really.
You can't. There's all these regulations about them. And if you do, you have to keep them for 7 years. It's kind of a crazy thing. And so now that we've come here, I've started to really appreciate that most marketing is so boring.
Yeah.
Is
it's so bad.
boring. And I get why, because it's embarrassing when you put your face on YouTube and you're making a stupid face and you're like actually slightly more sophisticated, fingers crossed, than you are portrayed on the internet.
Yep.
You can have ego about that. Or you can be like, do I want to look rich or do I want to be rich?
Yeah. Oh, that's good.
You got to make a choice, right?
Yeah. I mean, Cody, I'm like an extreme introvert. I don't like going
way.
out. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Whoa.
I'm posting these videos in the comfort of my own home, but going outside is like not for me. And so like the thought of short form videos was just like so foreign to me.
Interesting.
But there's a whole world on the other side of cringing at yourself, right? Because at the end of the day, like no one even cares.
Nobody cares.
Like the guy at church or your neighbor who sees that video of you talking about, he doesn't care. He's not thinking about you. No. So just do it.
Yeah. One of my best mentors ever told me, there's somebody who is dumber than you are, has worse products than you are, isn't as good as you are, and they're making more money than you do because they're willing to sell.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, thanks, Bob. But he was right,
Yeah.
Okay, I want to talk about, you just have so many stories. I want to run through a bunch of these companies, and hopefully for, if you're listening online, I think the thought is, like, take these as these little moments of inspiration, just like you did. You're like, oof, what about this? Mm-hmm. So it might not be that somebody's going to go pitch Buc-ee's and create a whole t-shirt empire, but it might be like right off of it, like slightly asymmetric,
Yeah.
So I want to talk about pet cremation because that's the obvious next thing you go to.
Uplifting topic. Yeah.
That's awful. My dog's here. Hide the dog.
It's so hot right now, by the way.
Is it really?
Cremation, so hot. Right. I had to.
Is that a dad joke?
I have four kids. Yeah.
I love a dad joke.
To.
Okay, let's talk pet cremation.
Okay.
What happened?
I had a friend that worked in private equity, and he had seen the inside of some deals, some pet cremation deals that looked really, really good. 92% gross margins. We have more puppies in the United States than children today. As of 2 years ago, like the line officially crossed. More puppies than kids, right? So extract from that what you will. But there's an opportunity there. Everyone bought puppies during COVID. Those puppies are 5 years old now. And unfortunately, they will die. And cremation is exploding in popularity. So I like to look for businesses that ride several tidal waves at once, several trends, right? And so you've got the puppy boom, you got people buying puppies, you have people preferring cremation for whatever reason, and then you have my friend that had an inside look into the industry. And so that same friend, luckily, also had a friend that was a veterinarian that owned a very high volume clinic. Like he did as much business as 6 clinics, right? And he was able to say, hey, if we start a pet cremation business, would you work with us instead of who you're currently working with? Sure. So we just kind of had that relationship. And so we started looking at these burners, and they're like $100,000 to $300,000 each. And then we thought, oh, man, I don't usually do that. I don't put hundreds of thousands into businesses, right? I'm scrappy. And so we thought, okay, well, what if we could just play middleman and just have a refrigerated van where we just play puppy logistics, if you will, okay? Pick up the puppies, puppy pickup, and then deliver them to the cremation facility that's already invested $500,000 into equipment because they want to be in the cremation business, not the logistics business. And that's one thing that we learned. We interviewed a few of them and say, what's the pain point in your business? Something we've already talked about. And they said, sales and logistics. What if we do both of those for you? My friend had another friend that had been acquiring veterinarian clinics. So he had contacts in the industry. So we said, all right, there's our sales. Here's our first customer that's worth 6 customers. Put the pieces together. Let's spend $15,000 on a refrigerated van, and we're in business. And so we capture a margin between the cremation facility and the veterinarian.
God, that's so smart. So it's almost like you see an opportunity in an industry and you go, okay, what's the most direct route? Okay, well, cremation. But then you say, my constraints are I want to spend less than $50,000. So if I can't get into that aspect for $50,000, where can I find just part of the business? So instead of taking everything from I'm going to get the lead for the puppy to I'm going to deliver the puppy to I'm going to cremate the puppy to I'm going to like have a certificate I give the family or whatever, I'm just going to take this step. And because I only take this step, it doesn't cost me all of this to start it. That's really clever. It's like breaking down the business to the chunk you can afford.
And the thing about that step that's a headache to them is if it's all you do, it's not a headache. Because all your systems are built around that one thing. So it's a win-win for both parties.
Yeah. And so you're basically doing the opposite of what most companies do, which is like they might do vertical or horizontal integration where they go buy these things. You're saying, let me do the opposite. Let me remove a portion of somebody's business. I can build an entire stack on it. And then if I want to add on and compete more, I can. But in the beginning, I get to just start.
And now what we can do is we can go the vet route and go into clinics and sell them. Or we can go to the cremation facilities and say, hey, I know what your margins are. Because I know the business. What if you give us 30% of that margin and we'll take care of all of your headaches, right? So you can streamline your operations. You can net out ahead, even though your top line revenue comes down, and it'll be a win-win.
Yeah, I love that. Also, it's so much easier to start a business when you can sell to people who are already doing the thing that you want them to do. It's really hard to create an industry. Like, for instance, we try to talk people into this idea that we should not let these businesses die, that you should buy them, and that you should do it creatively. You shouldn't always have to go to the bank and be a millionaire to do it. It's not easy. It's hard. There's lots of components of it, but it's totally possible. The problem with that is you're like talking them into a change in lifestyle. It's actually not a very good business. It's like more something that I just think we should do. But if instead you're going to a business owner, they already have the pain point. They already have the cash to solve it. All you're doing is removing work from them. Like that's a really interesting model. I typically don't think about businesses that way. So I like that.
Cool.
The funny part though about pet cremation, to your point on like people don't realize what people pay for. Like what does it cost to get a pet cremated?
$250 to $500.
God, my dad's going to kill me for this story, but when my favorite dog died, he was obsessed with the dump truck. Like, you know how the trash truck, the dogs and so he died, and his name was Elvis. He was this amazing little Cocker Spaniel. And so, my dad told me, and so I came by the next day. I'm like, well, where's Elvis buried? What happened? And he's like, oh no, I took him to his favorite spot. And I'm like, what do you mean by that?
What does that mean?
And he just put him in a bag and gave him to the dump truck. And I was like, I think that's illegal. I think that's right. He was like, he would be thrilled. He'd be barking happily all the way to the dump, his favorite place.
You're just like staring into the abyss.
Oh, I just was. I know. It's such we're Latino. They don't understand things like cremating a dog for $500. That's like not part of the equation. Okay, let's talk about RV parks. So I think a lot of people are interested in this idea of, I call them like low people businesses, vending machines, laundromats, car washes, RV parks. All of them have like a version of the business that could be low people. Then they have a very high people version of it. You own a bunch of RV parks and got into it. How did you get into that business? Break down the economics of it. What's most interesting about it?
So, and I've done both ends of that. Small RV parks with no employees and large RV parks with a lot of employees. So I was buying single family homes back in college. And then I moved to Texas and I met some guys they owned hundreds of single family homes, but they had just been introduced to mobile home and RV parks. And they basically said, Chris, you've got to look at this. Instead of having 12 homes across a metroplex in 2 hours, you can have 12 homes all on the same 2 acres, and each one of them is more profitable than those, and it costs like a third as much as all of the single family homes. So you have the efficiencies of them being all right there. It's the lowest form of affordable housing, so it's recession resistant, and they're easier to manage. And you don't have to maintain the unit. The tenant owns the unit, so you just own the land. So I'm like, why do people even buy single family homes? I don't understand. Is this like the world's best kept secret? And so we partnered up and we started buying these small RV and mobile home parks across Texas and Oklahoma, 10 to 70 pad sites. No amenities, mostly long-term tenants, and where the tenants own either the RV or the mobile home, and we just maintain the infrastructure. And we did that for 2.5, 3 years.
What would each one cost you to buy those?
Yeah, so
parks?
Between $100,000 and $1.5 million.
Wow. And what kind of margins are you making on that? Like, how much money are you getting in your pocket from that?
It's like 30 to 60% cash on cash returns.
Yeah, that's wild.
It's insane.
Does that still exist today, or has a lot of that? It does.
No, it does.
Yeah, because a lot of people say those days are over.
Yeah.
You can't find X business like that, Y business like that. Is that true? And if it's not true, then why can you still find those? Why are people not buying them up?
So the founder of 1-800-GOT-JUNK has a quote that I love. And he says that as long as pianos weigh 800 pounds, we're going to be in business, right? And so as long as RV parks are ugly and forgotten and hard, or at least they seem to be hard, there's going to be an opportunity there.
Yeah.
I've been saying since 2018, since I've been in the business, like, oh, private equity, they're coming. And they're coming after the $10 million parks.
Yeah.
But private equity doesn't care about $100,000 or $1 million or $3 million park.
No.
So there's opportunity there.
Yeah, it's the same with buying businesses.
Yeah.
They literally, if you want to sell your $3 million business that has 30% margins, it's hard.
Yeah.
It's super hard. And now we know we own like the biggest, depending on how you do it, let's call it the second biggest behind business buy sell marketplace for small businesses. And man, there's so many good deals on there that nobody's buying.
Yeah.
And we're getting like 10 to 12 new listings every single week. And we've only been around for a year. And some of these businesses, it's like a business that does $160,000 in revenue a year. Let's call it $50,000 in profit. And they want to sell it for $50,000.
Yep.
So like, it's all around. What about, actually, let's do this really quick. So somebody's listening and they're like, I would love to own. Like, I would love to just feel like an owner of a business and buy a mobile home park for $100,000 to $200,000 and like get there. What would be the couple things you'd tell them? Don't buy mobile home parks unless you do this.
Oh, that's easy. Wastewater treatment plants. I don't know if most people never heard that phrase, but a lot of parks treat their own wastewater on site. And that is like major red flag. You could get shut down by the government, like stay far away. A lot of the best deals you'll see have those for that reason. So stay away from that. You want to think of a barbell. On one end of the barbell, you have no amenities. I did that 7 years ago. It was great. That means you don't have to have a manager. You could manage, one person remotely could manage a half a dozen parks, as long as he's on site every quarter or so. And then on the other end of the barbell, you have amenity rich, pool, pickleball, horseshoes, you name it, water slides, everything. That's a great place to be. That's what I'm doing today. I'm a partner in a fund, and those are the parks we buy. Hundreds of pad sites near national and state parks. It's harder, but bigger, and bigger numbers, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to be in the middle. If you buy a park with a pool and that's it, then your insurance is much higher. You need someone to be there, and they're only there for the pool. You don't want a kid to drown, right? Yeah. So you don't want to be in the messy middle, like either no amenities or all the amenities.
So you once started a crypto project with John McAfee, who is easily, I think, the most eccentric, paranoid, and wild entrepreneur, maybe of all times. He founded and sold McAfee antivirus software, investigated for murder in Belize, and later returned to the U.S. where he ran for president not once, but twice. I think there's a whole Netflix documentary about him. Is that right?
That's correct, yeah. So it was like 7 years ago, or 8, I don't know. But crypto was going crazy, and I was getting involved because I'm, always distracted. And I had kind of found this math equation that helped me predict the price of cryptocurrencies. And it was very simple. Here's the whole secret, okay? I found a way to measure how much hype cryptocurrency had. How many people were talking about it on Twitter, Reddit, Facebook. And I put that into a number from 1 to 100. And then I used public websites to find out the market cap of the cryptocurrency, how much it was worth. And then I just divided the two numbers. So if there was a cryptocurrency that was very big, very popular, but people weren't really talking about it, my algorithm division told me it was going to go down in value at some point. Or if everyone was talking about something and it had a small market cap, then it would go up in value. So I started investing my own money in this. It was working. And I felt like I had just discovered like Newtonian physics or something, right? I was like, this is huge. I'm going to be so rich. This is amazing. But this was like years before I ever started publishing content. I had no following, no audience, no rich friends, nothing. And so I thought, who's the biggest name in crypto? John McAfee. He had like 1 million Twitter followers at the time. And for better or worse, he was the biggest name in crypto. And so I thought, if I could just skip the line, right? Constraints equal creativity. If I could just partner with him and get him to buy into this vision that this works, then I could do something with this equation, build a community or sell access to it for a monthly fee or raise a fund and invest the fund's money into it. I got to get his attention. Problem is that he founded a security company. He's very private. He lives on a compound with bodyguards. So I started guessing his email address because I couldn't even find his email, which is pretty easy to do. I couldn't find his. So I'm trying like jm@mcafee.com, John at McAfee, John, and it was just bounce back. Finally, I had a notification. It was opened. I'm like, okay, I found it. He didn't respond, but I found it. So then I just start blowing him up. John, I'm really onto something here. Some guy in Texas, he doesn't know who I am. I'm nobody. I'm onto something. I think finally he responds, and I still have these screenshots. So this was January 24th, 2018. As long as it is a live demo, as I said before, I will not even look at history and will throw you out of house if you bring it up. Even if you have HD video showing God coming down from heaven and exclaiming that you are legit, I will still throw you out of the house. I want a live demo of your product that accurately projects the future. Otherwise, I will be seriously pissed off. Can you pull off a demo that predicts prices the following day, 48 hours from today, and 1 week from today? If you can do that, then please come. If you cannot, even with the greatest excuse God could provide, then do not come. Put it in the history books.
Oh my God, I want to use that line. David, the amount of times I'm going to say to you now for things you want to pitch me, even with the grace of God.
That's right.
I will never dance on the internet. Yeah, that is so good. Okay. What a fucking great email save too.
And I was like, John, just give me an hour of your time in person. And he said, okay, I live in Lexington, Tennessee. Be at my house on, I think it was February 28th at 1:23 p.m. And if you're there, I'll give you an hour. And he said, I'll give you my address the morning of. Whoa. So I'm like, okay. So I fly to Tennessee, I get a rental car, email him that morning and say, I'm coming, John, what's your address? No response. I'm just going to Lexington. I don't know where he lives, right? There's like 40,000 people there. John, I'm coming to Lexington. Finally, at like 1 o'clock, or like 12 o'clock, he emails me his address. So I pull up to this house. It's like this old Southern style neighborhood. And there's one like Spanish style home with like a Hummer and like a Nissan Versa. And it's just like, if anyone lives here, it's John McAfee, right? All these crappy cars. And I knock on the door, and you know that scene in Home Alone when like they're about to leave to Paris and it's just bustling activity and everyone's running. It looked like that. There was an Australian film crew in there, multiple bodyguards with guns on their person, and then John and his wife, Janice. And he's like, who are you? I'm like, John, like, you just gave me your address. He's like, I don't know who you are. I'm like, Chris, I have that. He's like, oh, Janice, sorry, this guy thinks he can predict crypto. I don't believe him. I'm like, we're off to a great start. This is awesome. I'm glad I flew to Tennessee for this. So he's like, come in, we're going to the liquor store. I'm like, okay. And I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I've never tasted alcohol. He's like the opposite of me, like in every way except entrepreneurship, right? So he's like, come in, sit down. So I sit down at this breakfast nook and everyone leaves as soon as I get there. And I'm like, what? Okay, this is weird. And I'm looking at this table and there's like hard drives and laptops. And I'm like, okay, this is like the most secure person in the world. There's probably $100 million worth of Bitcoin on that hard drive. And he doesn't know who I am. He's just, what is happening? Long story short, I end up hearing someone there. One of his bodyguards was there. He's like, oh, well, nice to meet you. He's very nice. He's like, tell me why you're here. And I spend like 30 minutes explaining how this works. And he's like, I don't get it. I don't get it. And I'm just like, great, this is just a total failure. And so then everyone comes back. John sits down. He's like, all right, Chris, you got an hour. So I open up my MacBook. I start talking. And he's like, do you mind if this film crew films this? I'm like, oh, okay, sure. And so they start filming. And I'm like halfway into my second sentence. And he's like, this is brilliant. Of course it works. Why wouldn't it work? It's just all hype. You're just dividing the hype by the market cap. What do you want from me? And I'm like, wow, this guy gets it. And so I'm like, let me give you a quarter of whatever it is that we build, and you tweet about me twice per week. I'll tell you what to tweet. We'll build something. And we shook on it. And I spent the day there eating Mexican food and hanging out with him. Wow. And then we started a business together.
And what ended up happening with the business?
Oh man, this was 2018, right at the start of crypto crashing from 20,000 to 3,000.
Oh yeah.
But we started a cryptocurrency that we gave out for free, and it reached a $30 million market cap. And we built a community with 70,000 people in it. We planned conferences, and we became friends over the course of 2 years until it all just kind of fizzled out and died.
Wow. So basically crypto crashed and that just killed the whole business.
Yeah. We were just swimming upstream for two. We launched at like the worst possible time. Wow. I still have his voicemails saved on my phone.
That's wild.
Yeah. I can't delete them. I just can't.
Chris John, McAfee. I'd like to chat for a little while, but to
it goes on and on. It's like 2 minutes. It's this idea to like start a business giving away free crypto to like strippers and mimes.
Oh my God.
And he's just rambling. And it's like, it's funny, but it's like I leave rambling voicemails like that. Not while on coke, but it's like we have the same entrepreneurial brain. His is just like plus coke, you know?
And strippers.
It's strippers and no morals. Yeah.
Wow, that is wild.
It's a good story.
What a story, though.
Yeah.
Okay. I think there's kind of two other things I want to go with. One is you've obviously met a ton of everyday business owners who have gone from nothing to a couple 100,000, million, $2 million businesses. Mm-hmm. Everybody talks about the world's greatest founders, but what have you noticed just in your millionaire founders that you've met? What is different about them than everybody else?
Yeah. They have an insane bias for action. They just move fast. Yeah. And not like to have first movers advantage just because that's just how they operate. They're impatient, right? Which could be seen as a flaw. It might be a flaw in their personal life. I don't know. But they're just insanely curious and impatient, and they pair those two things together. And sometimes it gets messy and things fail and things explode and bankruptcy. But over the long run, they just win. Mm-hmm. If they don't quit, they stay in the game, they just win. Until
you actually get in front of people who are moving like billionaires. Like most of the billionaires I've met, I'm just like, oh my God, once you've made a decision, it's just tidal waves of movement. Mm-hmm. But I've struggled to try to get like a formula for how to explain if you are fast or not. Like if somebody said, all right, let's Chris, create for me the algorithm of am I fast or am I not in my life? What would be the inputs? How could one tell if you really were a person who biased for action?
That's a good question. I've noticed like the best employees I've had work fast. Mm-hmm. And that's not something you talk about with employees. You talk about productivity but they just like, if I give two employees the same spreadsheet task, one of them has done 10 minutes, one does the same thing in 3 hours. Yeah. Right. And so I wish I had a formula of like how to train that. Maybe it can't be trained, but like, you know what? Maybe the commonality is you truly love what you do. Mm-hmm. Like I love what I do so much. I'm sitting at the MacBook typing away and I got to go to the bathroom. I'll run to the bathroom. And there's no deadline. No one's around. No one cares, right? It's just an email I'm writing or something and I'll run back. Yeah. Just because I genuinely love it and I want to be doing more of that. Going pee is not fun, right? I want to be doing that thing. And so that kind of forces me to be fast. If I'm researching a business or launching a business, if I do it faster, then I can do more of it in a compressed time period. So maybe you could make an analogy to like a hobby or something that you love. Like if you love going to the beach, you might speed on the way to the beach. You might spend more time there. You might be really creative or efficient at finding your way to the beach because you love it so much. Yeah. So just take that same principle and apply it to whatever it is you're doing.
Yeah. Do you have a way to screen employees for their speed?
The only way I've found is just 30-day trials for everyone. Yeah. And just saying on day one, statistically speaking, this isn't going to work out. Mm-hmm. Nothing against you. You seem awesome, or else we wouldn't even be doing this. I'm just looking at numbers. 30% chance this works out. Mm. So on day 30, let's put it on the calendar right now. We're going to have a talk. No hard feelings. It just probably won't work out. And if it's the right person, that conversation will put a chip on their shoulder, right? Because that chip can be very heavy. And some people get that. Some people just don't have that gene. It offends them and it drives them, like it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy and they don't work out. Some people are like, oh, okay, we'll see. I'll be in that 30%. And that's the guy or girl that I want.
Yeah, did somebody ever do that to you?
Oh, everything I've done is because of some stupid comment that someone made, or like it's chips on my shoulder. Like it's everything. I'm sure you could.
I'm the same way.
Could refer to
everybody says like, don't build angry. I'm like, wrong.
Yeah.
Like there's no greater fuel than being a little pissed off.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, and if you're religious, talk about like righteous fury, like that is a real thing.
Yeah.
And, you don't build the irrational thing that is a big business because you're like, I kind of don't care.
Yeah.
I just feel nothing.
Yeah.
And I like stumbled my way into this business. I just don't believe that.
Yeah.
I think you have to build it through like a force of will that is unreasonable.
Yes.
And that often comes from being really pissed that something doesn't already exist.
Yeah.
And so, I'm not the right person to talk to about like work-life balance or, being really reasonable on everything. I'm like, no, we got one life. And at the end of the day, I want to be able to say we made an impact.
And if you enjoy it, then, right?
Yeah.
Like as much as I love my mom, I love you, Mom, but I didn't become successful because she believed in me so much, right? I'm glad that she did. I believe in my kids. I became successful because some stupid guy in college is like, you're not going to do it. You're not going to make it. And that guy probably doesn't even remember that I exist. It's so silly.
Yeah.
But if you're able to harness it, then it's not silly.
Yeah. I have like a little screen. I bet I still have the screenshot from when I was in finance. I was a partner at a finance company, and we had grown really fast, my division. And one of the other division heads basically didn't like that I was starting to bring a lot of this stuff online. It was pre-contrarian thinking, but I still thought that in the future, investing, a lot of it was going to be done through a version of online marketing. I was like, I think steak dinners as the only way of business that's not this generation.
Yeah.
And they disagreed. And so I remember he sent me an email. I think he was a little liquored up. It was like late at night. And the email said, I hope you gained more followers today because you've dumbed down our business.
Oh, wow.
And I remember being like...
You probably remember exactly where you were when you read that email.
Yeah, I remember where I was. I remember how I felt. And I remember being like, thanks, man. I needed that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
so like, be really careful, I think, also with like the fuel you put into other people.
Yeah.
Because you might not realize enemies can be powerful too.
Yeah.
And so, I've learned that lesson also. Let's talk about that for a second. Like, you've done 75 businesses. You have to have gotten lied to, cheated, defrauded. Like, what's the worst thing that's ever happened to you in entrepreneurship?
Man, we could have 4 hours of conversation. Like, I call it like surface area for fraud, surface area for scams, trials, business partnership fallouts. I've had like 15 business partners. I could tell so many stories, but the worst one ever was I was building a business with a couple partners, and we had a $50 million opportunity on the table. We had a term sheet, and it was significantly better than we thought we would get. And this was life-changing money for all of us. And the two partners that I had kind of like ganged up, so to speak, had a meeting without me. And they said, you know what, like, there's really not enough equity to go around. I know our operating agreement kind of, we could just rip up that operating agreement, start a new company, get those same investors in our new company with just us. They're not going to care. They barely know Chris, right? It sucks, but like, honestly, this just makes the most sense. So they had that conversation. And then in my head, I was about to sign like the best deal of my life. I was way up here, right? And then I get a text. It's like, hey, meet me at Starbucks. And I just saw the text and nothing. I had no red flags. Like, there were no signs that this was about to happen, right? But I saw that text and I was like, I don't feel good about this. Why don't I feel good about this? Just something told me. Yeah. And like that feeling just came up and I'm like, okay. So I get in the truck and I drive across the street to Starbucks. I'm like, why aren't we meeting at the office? This was right across the street. I'm like, okay. So I get to Starbucks and I thought I was meeting with one of them. And the one I was closer with, I was meeting with both of them. And you could just see the looks on their faces. Yeah. And it was a longer conversation, but basically it was like, this sucks. This is wrong. We know this is wrong. We know this will ruin our friendship, but you're out. I'm like, you're out. This is done. We're doing this without you. We don't need you. And so I was just like, chip on shoulder, right? I was like, okay. That came later. In the moment, I was just like seeing red.
Yeah.
And just like driving home like this. And it was one of the worst things that's ever happened to me, honestly.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like, lawyers got involved. That deal blew up. And my life has never been better ever since.
Yeah, it's such a lesson. I mean, one of the things that I feel like a lot of people are scared of doing entrepreneurship because they know the big, bad, scary thing will happen.
Yeah.
Like if you're in the game long enough, you're going to get hit.
Yep.
It's just the name of the game. But the crazy part is it doesn't kill you.
Yeah.
Like it's not going to kill you. Like entrepreneurship by itself, unless you fall off a roof, it's not going to kill you. It's going to suck.
Yep.
You're going to have mental scars, all the PTSD. But what I'm always surprised about? The people who defraud you and the people who scam you. Like we had this guy who like Chris and I, my husband Chris, were like really close to. Like met his kid and like been in his house and like knew the guy. And I thought we were buddies, but I was on the internet a little bit by then. This was like kind of at the beginning of being on the internet. Mm-hmm. And the guy was formerly in secret agency world. And so I knew, like, obviously those people understand manipulation. Like, they know how to come after you. Mm-hmm. But I just never would imagine being targeted, That was like a foreign thing to me.
Yeah.
But what happens in entrepreneurship is you do get targeted, actually, all the time. Sometimes, like, big manipulation, sometimes little. And the one that stuck with me the most was not the most money. It was only a couple $100,000 that he defrauded us from. But it was that somebody could come after you with that intent. Mm-hmm. Somebody could steal from you so intensely, and the whole time you think you're friends.
Yeah.
And I think with business, what it really starts to teach you is that partnerships should be like few and far between.
Oh, yeah.
Or really set with a lot of expectations. And you've got to expect that you're going to have a breakup.
Yeah.
And then it'll be okay. And for people like that, it always comes back around.
Yeah.
Like I think it's very rare for somebody to have a ton of business success over decades and decades and continuously fuck partners and people not know, right?
Yeah.
So one of the good parts is when you partner with people who are kind of success, you're like, okay, I know what I'm going to get into. Mm-hmm. One of the lessons that I've learned is like be very careful with the unknown commodity. Like if you don't know them, if they haven't ever had any success, but they're the same age as you got to kind of be careful. Yeah. It's better to be the young up and comer, probably, or it's better to go with the established one. But I do think entrepreneurship can break your heart because that was one of the few ones where I was like, you're just a commodity, not something else. But I think, thank you for sharing because nobody really wants to share those stories. And everybody makes themselves out to be, it's only been great. Everything's only good.
Oh, yeah, it's tough.
And that's not the case.
Yeah.
Let's talk about, let's give people some tactics really quickly. So we've already talked about some ways to find businesses. Mm-hmm. But if you were going to have somebody leave here, you've given them 3 businesses you've given them 3 businesses you don't. If they right now are listening and they want to go find their next business to start, where would you look? Yeah. What do you do?
Where do you start? So I think that you have to put yourself in one of 2 buckets. Am I someone that already knows I love entrepreneurship? I've made my first dollar for myself. I've tasted it. I love it. Yeah. Or am I someone that loves the idea of entrepreneurship? I like how it sounds. I don't want to work. Who wants to work for someone, right? Some of those people end up trying it and they don't like it, right? So step 1 is figure out what bucket you're in, right? And then answer that question for yourself. Go gather things around your house that are just sitting around, sell them on Facebook Marketplace, see how it feels. Is the hassle of going back and forth with someone or meeting someone to sell a $50 dresser, is it not worth it for you? Or does it seem not worth it until you make that $50 and you're like, oh, that feels good. I did that myself, right? So start there, I would say.
Yeah. Now, what about for the person that is already in a job? So they're already working. They kind of maybe like what they do, but they're not young and hungry necessarily. They're in their career. Is there somewhere you tell people to start where it's slightly more advanced?
Yeah.
Is there a 202 level to start, or does everybody have to start at 101 Facebook Marketplace?
Yeah. You familiar with the Ikigai principle?
Yeah.
Yeah. So for those that aren't, it's just a Venn diagram. What do you love? What are you good at? what does the world need, and what could you charge for? Okay, start there. So if you work in dentistry, right? You know dentistry better than most people you know. So maybe you should start thinking of ideas that are tangential to that. Maybe you have a vendor that seems to be crushing it and you could copy what they're doing. Maybe you could maybe you manage your dentist Facebook ads account and you could start an ad agency for dentists, right? So start what you enjoy and what you know and what is in kind of your zone of genius and go from there. Where I see people going wrong is like they're a lawyer and then they go try to start a pressure washing business. And they're like, I don't even like this at my house. Like, what am I doing? You know? And that could turn them off from entrepreneurship just because they chose the wrong thing. They might actually love the feeling of entrepreneurship, right? So definitely start with what you know, and then test it. Like Jeff Bezos talks about the regret minimization framework, right? People don't regret things that they do typically, right? Like we regret things that we didn't do, like the jump that we didn't take. And so that's one thing that I have. I have call it like underlying FOMO. If I have a business idea that's just ruminating, I've got to get it out. Yeah. And if it fails, great, because now I know. Because I don't want there to have been an idea from 3 years ago that could have been $1 billion idea. So you're just, every year that you get older, right, the chance of you leaving those golden handcuffs just goes down and down and down. And the worst feeling is just being 40, 50, 60, 80 years old and looking back like, I should have done that. Like that job kind of sucked the whole time. Why didn't I at least try it? Like people don't have to quit. Under almost, like there's very few exceptions where you have to quit your job to start a business.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, you know, the part that's really interesting on that too is like, I think most people really overestimate what happens. I'm sorry, people really underestimate what happens after you start. Like the hard thing is the start.
Yeah.
The really hard thing, because most people just will never kickstart their way. Like, again, to go to my dad, he was in real estate forever and never bought a property. I mean, I'm talking like 30 or 40 years because he was super risk averse.
Yeah.
And so he's like, no, I'm a deal maker. I like to get the deals. I'm like, yeah, what if you're sick?
Yeah.
You have to have something else that can pay you. And so it's like, just kind of get started.
Yeah.
And then you can see what happens. What about, I like this framework of like minimizing regret. Do you also do you have, you have 452 businesses, like you've done like 75 businesses to date. Do you think you have ADD, ADHD or something? Do you have a hard time sticking with one thing for an extended period of time?
Diagnosed ADHD. Definitely have that. And it used to stress me out. I used to say, Chris, shiny object syndrome, stop. Nope, this is working. I went and got my MBA just to like fight that, right? And I used to think focus is like focusing on one business. And maybe for some people that is. To me, the focus that's important is focusing on your superpower, okay? And where I went wrong was trying to do payroll and trying to do a little bit of marketing and hiring and operations. I'm terrible at operations, right? I forget payroll sometimes. That's really bad. That's really bad when you miss payroll. All right, let me tell you. But I'm really good at marketing and ideation and executing on ideas fast. So now I just focus on that. And if that's across 10 different businesses or one, it makes no difference because I'm going to win either way. I
love that because these days people all will tell you, well, hey, you should just do this one thing. You know, if instead you focused on one business, how much richer would you be? It's like, I don't know, maybe, but maybe I'd have less fun.
Yeah.
And so do we always have to optimize for return or could we optimize for a little fun plus return?
Yeah.
So I think for anybody out there who's, got a little ADD, gets distracted kind of easy, that doesn't mean that you can't be an entrepreneur. It might just mean your path looks different.
Yeah.
Thanks for letting me ask that. It's probably inappropriate. What other medical diagnoses do you have that you'd like to discuss today? Anything else? Well, you said two things that I think a lot of people feel like you can't have as an entrepreneur. You're like, I'm an introvert. I actually don't like doing this. And second, you're like, I'm ADHD. I get distracted. And yet you can still be a CEO, still be a content creator, and still be pretty wildly successful. Is there why could a person listening right now not do this? What's the anti-entrepreneur? You will never make it if you have these characteristics.
Ego, pride. You don't want to look stupid in front of your friends that aren't even thinking about you. It could just be like you really just don't want it that bad. You just like the idea of entrepreneurship. But you try like getting your hands dirty a little bit and it's like, I just want a paycheck. And that's awesome. I would love to report to someone a lot of times.
Me too.
I would love to just say, tell me what to do, right? So I think if you are humble and you do really want it, like, I can't think of really any excuses why you can't do it. Because like even working hard, you don't have to have a work ethic. If you genuinely enjoy it, it doesn't feel like work, right? Like some people say people are inherently lazy. I think people need to work. I think we get fulfillment from work. Most people just haven't found the work that they love yet. So it means you have to keep trying things until you do, right? Like after starting 75 businesses, I know exactly what I like and what I don't like. But had I just stayed in one the whole time, I might not know. So I just follow the energy. If I'm doing a task that gives me energy, I just do more of that. And I think it's really hard to go wrong if you do that. You're familiar with product market fit, right? Mm-hmm. It's just like the concept that your product or service, there's a big market for it and you know it's there because you're just like staying up all night fulfilling orders. Like there's so much demand for this. Some people think you have to have that. You don't usually have it. I've experienced like 2 or 3 times. But when I have a product or service or business that has product market fit, I'm not out there getting distracted. I don't have time. There's a selection bias, right? So if I'm distracted by another shiny object, that's a signal to me that there's something worth getting distracted over because this thing is expensive as far as opportunity cost is concerned. So if my energy is directed over here, then I should pay attention to that, right?
Yeah, it's a really good point. It's a very fair point too. I also think like most people, it's like, do you only want to do what you want to do or do you want to do what's required? If you only want to do what you want to do at all times, then you won't make it. Yeah. Now you can only do what you want to do broad picture, but like day to day, you're going to have to do some bullshit. Yeah. And if you're willing to do that, I really think you can be an entrepreneur. It's just like, it is that mixture of like, can I become obsessed with a thing? Then can I do some stuff I don't want to do? Can I do it past a point that is reasonable for most other people? And can I continue to move forward? Yeah. In your religion, do you have to do like door knocking and selling?
We did during our mission for 2 years. Yeah.
So you kind of learned hard, difficult, salesy things. How old were you then?
19. In Hungary, Eastern Europe.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Do you speak Hungarian?
Yeah, a little bit. I still got some left.
Wow, what do you got?
Jó napot kívánok.
That sounded great.
Thank you.
What did you say?
I just put a little deeper voice on and no one can tell the difference. I just said, how are you? Hello, how are you?
Wild. Yeah. And so do you think a lot of your entrepreneurial chops come from doing hard things like that really young?
Oh, 100%. I was like, in high school, you know, I had a single mom. She was a waitress, and I had bad grades. I was not motivated. I was not driven. I was not valedictorian, 3.0 GPA, stupid stuff on the weekends. But after knocking doors in Eastern Europe in a foreign language for 2 years, and I added up how many times I got rejected, loosely, because we would knock on doors all day, every day. And so if you add that up, like X doors per day, it's like 24,000 times. Rejected to my face. Okay, this isn't like a mean email. Like, I don't want what you're selling me. When you do that for 2 years and you come home, I just remember sitting in my room after coming home thinking like, I can freaking do anything. Like, and I will. Like, this is America. I can do whatever I want because I met a lot of really smart, kind, talented people over there that had no opportunity. They could not get ahead if they wanted to. And I was like, I can do whatever I want here compared to Hungary. And so I've just been trying to do that ever since.
Did you convert anybody with 24,000 no's?
11.
Whoa.
Yeah. So how's that
Which also
conversion
seems
rate?
like a lot. Like if you believe you're saving souls, 11 is a lot. That's more than me. But that's a tough ratio.
It's tough.
So do you think, like, will you make your kids do the same thing or ask your kids if they want to do the same thing?
We encourage them to.
Yeah.
But I can't really force them to do anything, you know, especially once they're 18.
You just model it.
Yeah. But the thing is about those 11 people is I learned after a while, like, it was all for me. Like, it sounds selfish, but I served that mission. I thought I was serving others, and that became a byproduct of what I was doing. Really, I was served the most in serving them.
Yeah, I get that.
Does that make sense?
Oh, 100%. It's my favorite reason for why we host workshops here. Like, it doesn't make a lot of sense to do, like, with the scale that we have, to bring 100 people in here, teach them about business, but we've been doing it for the past 5 years. Like, why would you do such a thing? Because it's actually really selfish. Yeah. Like, when you meet the people at the end, and in the beginning, and I remember one of the guys, I won't say his name, but he, like, have you ever looked at an entrepreneur? You can tell they're going through it. Like when you are with a CEO buddy and they're having a tough time in the business, I think it's often physical. Like you can literally see it on their face.
Yeah.
And so he had sort of these like, I guess it's shingles, like hives sort of. And I was like, what's going on with you, man? And it was because he had a, what is that called? Where you go and check a house to see what it's worth.
Oh, appraiser?
Yeah, geez.
Yeah.
Okay, so he was a home appraiser. And by the end of 2 days, we kind of figured out that he was really selling to the low end of the market. He was taking everybody. So he was it was your 3PL problem. No profit, too many clients, lots could go wrong. And they really didn't value his service very much. So it was always a price negotiation, right? So, but by the end, I'm like, are you good at this? And he's like, yeah, we're very good at it. I'm like, why don't you just put like luxury home appraisal? Just like optimize for SEO on that. You're a luxury appraisal company now. Did it. He's like, oh my God, I doubled my business.
Wow.
Plus I have half the number of clients. And he started looking healthy. Now, that is awesome for him. I'm stoked about that. But like, I was so excited. I'm like, look at the help that I could give this dude doing it. And I think people don't realize that entrepreneurship can really be that.
Oh, it's
so
amazing.
I think it's a real service what you do, because now you're talking to, how many people are following you on the internet now with all the sauce you're giving?
I mean, I don't even track it, but like 3.62 million, something like
barely
that.
know.
I don't track it.
And where do you like people to follow the most? I like your Instagram and your Twitter. I try to stay off X as much as possible, actually, because it can be a cesspool. But you have great X and Instagram. Do you want to tell them where to find you?
Yeah, my podcast, really. The Kerner Office, spelled like my last name.
Yeah, well, spell it because they're never going to get that.
KOERNER.
There you
or
go.
TKOpod.com.
I actually thought it was Corner up until this very moment.
Well, I don't do myself any favors.
The Corner Office is really, so it's the Kerner Office because it looks like Corner.
I'll accept both of them.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for being on here. Thank you for all the secrets that you share about entrepreneurs. And I think this episode is going to be really useful for multiple people out there who are stuck in their own way and they might just break through. So if you give them a follow all across the interwebs. And if you guys start a business or if you grow one because of this, tell us. We will get you something special in the comments. Come back. We will patrol this for the next couple months. And if something cool happens, we'll make sure we give away some merch to you. Maybe we'll even get an original Buc-ee's, something that Chris did simultaneously. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
husband,
Wise.
Peckus, big week. Had the biggest Barnes & Noble signing at this one Barnes & Noble in New York, which was kind of sweet.
What happens when you see like violence or purported violence or threats, and then you're disincentivized from intervening? You can't lie to yourself and lie to people, I don't think. I think it's pretty impossible.
I don't know if I agree with that. I think we're great self-rationalizers.
Yeah.
I don't think that many people think they're evil, but I think they think they're right. Welcome back to the Big Deal podcast. Husband,
Wise.
Peckus, how are you doing?
Good, how are you?
I thought
Big week.
Big week. I thought this would be kind of fun. Actually, Tanner thought this would be fun. It was Tanner's idea. But the reason that we were going to do this podcast is to talk about all this crazy shit that's going on this week. I'm going to go first. Cool?
Please.
Book tour.
Codie Sanchez is a financial expert who has more than 7 million followers across social media. She has a new book, the instant New York Times bestseller, Main Street Millionaire.
Book is out. Top spotted hit was 91 on Amazon, which was sick.
First author in the family.
Main Street Millionaire, first author of the family.
That's
You're
huge.
right.
That's a big thing to live up to now.
That's pretty cool. We didn't sleep a lot this week. We went on all these Today shows, which was rad. I've had more face paint on than probably ever before. Also got an IV today while getting my hair done and makeup done, which was like peak too much, really.
It's great. Overconsumption.
Not great. But I thought we could hit some of the highlights because there were some cool things that happened this week. Like, first of all, met, I don't know, a couple hundred people who are part of our community, buying businesses, bought the book, had the biggest Barnes & Noble signing at this one Barnes & Noble in New York. I don't know about anywhere, which was kind of sweet.
Yeah.
Realized book signings take fucking forever.
Long time. Yeah, I bet your hand cramp was like obscene next level. I
It
can't
was
imagine.
mostly like a mouth. Like I just didn't want to talk at all.
You were on the whole time. You were engaging in conversation.
Because they were cool. It was the cool people.
I was proud of it. It was very
Yeah, but it was
impressive.
like every type of human represented there. Okay, but what I actually thought that I'd talk about is, do you know we outsold Martha fucking Stewart?
No. Are you serious?
Yeah, that bitch. You know who we did not sell, though, is Jordan B. Peterson. He beat us.
Jordan's been out for a while.
Plus, he's like brilliant. But
Speaks to a generation of young men. Women.
Yep. So, Martha, just saying, we're coming for you. We're not coming for you in the kitchen, because you know that's not my strong suit. That's yours.
Dude, I would love to learn from the
Maybe
master.
you should have a cookbook.
Me?
Yeah.
The lazy man's cookbook, or
No, like hairy-chested cooks.
find her heart through her stomach.
Yeah.
That'd be a good one.
Yeah, I'm into that.
Absolutely. I think it is just like a slow, it's like a slow process where you just end up changing the ingredients over time. So then you have your partner essentially eat everything that you already eat.
This sounds like you might be really familiar with how to do this to somebody.
It works. I love it. I don't hear any complaints.
No complaints, because I don't know how to do this. And it made me think about books overall. And like, I don't know about you, but I mean, Mom and Dad, you're listening. I love you both. You know this is true, though. Mom gives these gift baskets that are like...
Highly functional.
Yes. They're like socks, body wash, a razor. Mm-hmm. What else might be in there?
I had those little spongy things that you put between your center console and your car seat. And I think of her every time that I readjust them.
It's just like
and
she
every
knows.
time I don't lose my wallet or my phone in the cracks.
You're trying to suck up to her, but I feel like she watches QVC and just goes, I like this, and I like this, and I like this.
No, these are
She
way
puts it
too.
up-
These are. I'm actually would be really interested in the source of these purchases
Walmart?
because these are way too inexpensive to be on QVC. Like you gotta right. You have to have a price point. Like you have to sell. You have to get product through the door.
That's
like,
true.
I don't know, $6.55 for seat capture spongers.
Yeah. You also got 2 years of like very potent smelling body wash, which maybe she was trying to tell you something.
I think it's a signal.
You little smelly?
No. Am I?
No. You smell delicious. You smell like a man. So I thought I'd go with, lately I've been asking this question I kind of like, which is, what is the book or a few books that you personally keep going back to and reading?
Yeah. I would start with a book that I got introduced to by a dear friend a few years ago when I was looking for what was next in life out of transitioning out of the military. And that was The Surrender Experiment.
Oh, yeah.
It's just like this great book about this accidental entrepreneur who started as like a community college professor and devout yogi and meditator in Central Florida. And he, came to stumble into, he makes it feel like, this entrepreneurial journey where he was one of the first pioneers in software, and how he didn't sacrifice his morals. He didn't sacrifice, like, his paradigm did not shift. He was the same man, it felt like, at the end of his journey, from what at least he communicated in the book.
Great book. All right.
Yeah.
So Surrender Experiment.
Yeah, the other one I would say is Dune. I come back to Dune a lot.
Yeah, you do. We should reread that book. It's fucking huge. You
It
reread
is.
that thing?
I don't reread it in its entirety.
So what do you do?
I almost kind of treat it like a cookbook or like the
You
Bible,
just-
where you can
just
just like go between chapters, and I just
Randomly?
stuff.
You just kind of
I have notes, and like I have a lot of pages like dog-eared and some things highlighted or some notes in the
Yeah.
margins. I think it's an incredibly important book for a person who feels that they don't have the power to change, to have impact because of their station in life. He was the proposed prince of his father's dynasty, and then he became the walking messiah of a almost forgotten people.
yeah.
And you've seen the movie or read the books, that it was done with like immense strife and sacrifice, and just a testament to, I think, a human will.
Do you think you like it because you fought wars in the desert and it is wars fought in the desert?
Maybe. I think it speaks a lot to my generation, especially the global war on terror vets. I think it speaks to the impact a person can have in their own life. And I think it speaks to the fact of belief in a system. Not a system. Let's say belief in like in your personal virtues.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you can't lie to yourself and lie to people, I don't think. I think it's pretty impossible.
I don't know if I agree with that.
Yeah.
I feel like that is what people do who run people typically.
Really? They lie to themselves and lie to
Yeah,
people?
I think we're great self-rationalizers.
Yeah.
I don't think that many people think they're evil,
Mm-hmm.
but I think they think they're right, And they can talk themselves into being the good guy even when they're the bad guy,
Yeah.
It's like they deserved it. They didn't need this. I'm better. But I'm not sure. I've never been to war, so I can't imagine that part. But I do remember your last deployment. I reread Dune, and I always liked that part where they talked about fear as the mind killer
Yeah.
and that whole quote. And I remember when I was hiking Mount Baker, and it was like that snowy whiteout or whatever, and we had the crampons, whatever the fuck those things called. And we're on those ropes and the ice picks, and people are falling all around in the little mini crevasses. And I was so miserable and freaked out, and I don't like heights. And I didn't want to go any further, and I kept repeating that phrase, which is like, fear is the mind killer, let it pass through you. And I thought of you.
Yeah?
So, yeah, I like that book a lot. You know what's the other song that I listened to a lot when you were on deployment?
What song?
Iron and Wine. Remember that?
Oh, yeah. What's it called? Walking Far From Home.
Walking Far From
It's a beautiful song.
Such a good song.
He has a really interesting background, too. He's like a professor of film at like University of Florida.
So
And
good.
he's been just this incredible artist as well.
Yeah.
Why? Why that song?
Because I would thought about you. You're like walking far from home. And he kind of talks about, iron and wine. And I remember, I think of iron when I think of like steel and iron back then, as he was talking about, it would have been like a sword, but you got a different type of sword that was a gun, and think about like late nights and like a foreign country with like a bottle of wine. Just, yeah.
I wish
How
I
was
had the
that?
bottle of wine. That would have been great.
Missed you.
Missed you, too.
Okay, so we go to,
Books. Your turn.
mine.
Yeah, you got to tell me. Which ones do you reread and go back to?
Which one I reread is Shantaram.
Yeah.
That book is
That's
so-
too big. There's no way you reread 1,200 pages.
I don't think it's that long.
It's huge.
You're right. I probably reread that every couple of years.
Yeah.
But it's one of those books where you can lose yourself in it. And I always go back to, the story I'm going to go to.
Absolutely.
So why I think that labor is so important is I remember the story in there about and I reread it when we last went to India, because it's about a man who escapes Australia, kind of loosely based on a true story, but with like spiritualism intertwined into it. And he's a convict, and he killed somebody, manslaughter on accident, goes to prison, escapes prison, goes to India, and gets caught up in India in organized crime until finally he comes to like spiritual awakening. And it's a true story of this man who eventually goes back to Australia to pay recompense for his crimes, and then goes back to India after that. And anyway, the story is beautiful. And it's also beautiful if you're going to India, because it's like this perfect picture. Mm-hmm. But there's this one story about how the guy, the Australian, is like taking a shower in like a really shitty hotel. And he's like 3 stories up or whatever in the shitty hotel, and it's so hot there, and there's no air conditioning. He's like taking 3 or 4 showers a day. And he has a little guide with him who's a young Indian dude. And one day he gets up really early with his guide, and he sees these guys hauling, these huge barrels of water on their back up the stairs. And he's like, oh my God, that looks so miserable. What are they doing? And he's like, well, his guide says, well, they're filling your shower, of course. And he's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I had no idea that that's what they had to do to fill my shower. I'll never shower again. And his guide kind of freaks out. And is like, what do you mean? You should shower 6 times a day. Look at these guys. You're giving them labor and work. Look how strong they are. Look at them be able to provide for their family. And I always go back to that, because I'm like, that is a perfect example of what people don't fucking understand when they think about capitalism's bad and labor's bad and they're taking advantage of people. It's like, no, to give somebody labor is so beautiful, because it gives them an opportunity to be needed, useful, and then to provide for others.
Yeah, it's a huge perspective shift. And I think it's like, you have to consciously, like when you look at, in my beliefs, if you look at socialism or communism, that is a structure that has to be attended constantly.
Yeah.
Whereas capitalism tends to right-size itself. And I think that is a perfect example of the trickle-down effects of what happens when there is an exogenous effect and somebody decides to mess with the system.
Yeah. Yeah. Basically, good ideals, bad outcome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. Well, actually, I was kind of thinking about that, because this week, or was it last week, I had sort of tweeted about Juarez and my time along the border.
Yeah.
And I had talked about it before, but I think I got pissed. And, sometimes I think both of our best writings happen when you're really mad or worked up about something. And I was really mad because a bunch of people were talking about how open border policies are kind. And I don't believe that at all. I think it creates massive tragedy and violence. And so I was writing about my time down there when I was in college, and how I spent a period of time along the U.S.-Mexico border in Juarez, which is a city across from El Paso, right? And, what was interesting is you and I haven't even talked about it that much.
No, we haven't.
But
what made you go down there in the first place?
I got a grant from the Howard Buffett Foundation.
Okay, but
what made me want
No,
it?
but it's okay, so you get a grant, so you're like, I'm going to go cover narco trafficking on the border. Not I'm going to go track snow leopards, right? Or I'm going to study the, effects of, water restriction or resource restrictions, in the Southwest. You chose to cover narco trafficking.
I don't know. I find it fascinating.
Did you apply? Sorry, go ahead.
No, tell me.
Did you apply for the grant with the understanding of this is what you want to do, or did you get the grant and then you're like, this is what I'm going to do with it?
Yeah, you got the grant first. Basically, I was in the, what was it called? The
journalism school?
Yeah, Walter Cronkite School for Print Journalism. And it was a good school for that. Arizona's not the Harvard of the West, but anyway, and I started working with the dean of the Walter Cronkite School because I liked writing, and it was in one of her classes and did well, whatever. And she told me to apply for it. Yeah. And there was a group of us that all did it, and we could choose different segments that we wanted to focus on. And I think that maybe it's similar to you in some ways. I find it fascinating to go and see people that I cannot understand.
Right.
Like, I don't actually understand why someone would rape and mutilate a woman along the border continuously. Like, I don't understand why you would want to be in a cartel with a bunch of other cartel members that are, you know, violent and hurt you too and have a high probability of going to jail. Like, that's just such a different world than me.
Yeah.
And I think part of me, I'm just massively curious about humans and like the depths we can go to depravity and the heights we can go to, you know, heavenliness.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to see the full breadth of humanity. And so money, like similar to you, money actually never interested me when I was young. I really just wanted adventure. You know, my favorite book was Adventure Capitalist, which is where he like rode a motorbike all around the world. Oh, yeah. And that's how I ended up setting that business up in Latin America. But back then, I wanted to tell stories that nobody else had covered before. And I found that adventure fascinating. And I liked that like slight sense of danger for whatever reason. And so, yeah, that's why I ended up going down there. And another woman, Courtney Sargent, went with me for part of it, and she was my photographer.
Yeah.
And I remember...
Why just part of it? Did she not last as long, or was it just...
No, there were like, we had the different assignments.
Okay.
Like, I would go down some places, she would go down.
Okay, got it.
No, I think she's still a journalist.
And what was it? Was it just like, I'm going to observe and report, or was there some distinct element that you wanted to cover or like bring to light?
You know, what I found is like when you're observing things will just like emerge.
Of course.
So I went down there originally. Usually you start with a who. So I had this guy, Gil Gillenwater, who had something in Agua Prieta. Rancho Feliz was the name. It was a nonprofit. It was a really cool idea. So basically, Gil made a bunch of money in real estate, becomes kind of spiritual, becomes buddies with the Dalai Lama of all people, starts this nonprofit in Mexico called Rancho Feliz. And the idea is this: you get a house in Rancho Feliz if you help somebody else build theirs. And so it is a self-fulfilling nonprofit in that they have to be profitable, they have to help each other, they have to have jobs inside of the nonprofit. They can't let anything go into neglect, or they get kicked out of the community. So it's kind of this like capitalistic nonprofit. Anyway, I thought that was cool. So I started with him and was like, he's got all these connections down there, because I didn't know anybody and I spoke Spanish, but not that well. And then we were in Agua Prieta for a bit, and that was kind of wild because I remember it being real cold there during the winter, and none of those places have heat, right? Yeah. So Courtney and I are like sitting by that propane tank, and you really shouldn't do that all night. And so one of us had to stay up. But anyway, that's where we started getting a few connections. And Agua Prieta wasn't that dangerous. So we started there, but then we realized if we wanted to cover interesting stories, like, you know, things that were headline stories, we need to go to the bigger city. Yeah. So then we went to Juarez and El Paso. And the moment that I knew I wanted to cover what was happening there, I'll never forget. When you come from El Paso into Juarez, you cross the Rio Grande. There's a bridge that goes over the...
Oh, yeah, I remember. Right? Yeah.
And back then, and I don't know if it's still there, but there was this cross on the Juarez side, big wooden cross, and it was covered with pink ribbons and tokens. And every single one of those was for a woman who was missing, las desaparecidas. Okay. And it was a big cross, and in my mind, it's probably even bigger than it is, but I remember it being like towering to me. And I remember looking at it and thinking, my God, like all these murdered women, you know, why? How? Who's doing this? And then as you walked the city, all along the city, you'd see crosses, like little memorials with, you know, like the Sons of Maria or whoever, and pink little pamphlets of the missing women. And when I saw those, I was like, how can so many like beautiful young girls just go missing and nobody cares? And it's like right there. It's like stone's throw from El Paso. You know, how could that be?
But when you look at it, though, is it just a different social dynamic, like not caring? Like people grieve differently. People value human life differently. Do you think they had just become so socially conditioned to seeing it happen that it was like not a factor of if but when?
I think that darkness, or like, I think that bad things love darkness.
Bad things love darkness.
Like operators go out at night, right? Why? Because like the cover of darkness, I don't know why, but it's just easier to operate when things are opaque. And the interesting part about Juarez is that most of the people who were there are transient. So they have these big maquiladoras, the factories there, right? Where U.S. companies manufacture like Home Depot parts. Lowe's has big maquiladoras. We went in many of them, and they're like these, assembly lines where they bus in women predominantly because the men fought too much. So it was almost all the workers, and there would be young women. So they're docile, they don't fight, they get paid less. There's no cartel activity there because they're young women. They bus them in from these little shanty towns. Most of these women aren't even Mexican. They're like from Central America or South America, or they're from South Mexico.
Oh wow, okay.
So it's a really vulnerable population where these women are getting sent up north because they can make money and send it back to their family, and the money's real for their family that they can send back.
So they don't commute. They're there or they're there for extended periods of time.
They're there for extended periods of time. A lot of them are trying to get to the U.S., right? This is like a stop off on the way to try to get to the U.S.
Got it.
Or to make money in the meantime. But they are super vulnerable because they don't have family, or if they do, family gets separated easily there. And so I think there's this opaqueness there where you usually would know everybody in a small town, and there you don't because you have all these people funneling through. And then you have a bunch of people trying to cross the border there. It's one of the most porous sections of the border in an urban area. I don't know if that's still the case, but at least it was back then. And then for whatever reason, it's like where the Sinaloan and the Sonoran cartel were butting heads. And so they were at war, basically, when I was down there. And I was reading that, last year, 2,000 people were murdered in Juarez.
Last year alone?
Last year, which is crazy. When I was down there, they said that during that 3-year period that I was there, I wasn't there for 3 years, but that rolling 3-year period, 10,000 people were murdered. I mean, I remember jailbreaks from the local prison where they brought in a fucking Apache helicopter to break somebody out of the prison. One of the
cartel members?
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
It's like, where does a fucking cartel get an Apache helicopter? How does that happen? They buy it because that's from us, right?
I wouldn't even begin to know where. I think you would probably buy it on the black market somehow, and I have no idea. I don't know. We got to look that up.
Maybe that's why the budget is so big for the Department of Defense.
Why? Because
everybody's just kidding. Everything. It's like, don't they say that they have They say that Americans have X number of guns, but 30 to 40% of them are in Mexico. They're not even all in the U.S.
I don't know what the number is, but I know that there's a significant percentage. Well, I mean, just for we all are aware of the gun violence that goes on in Mexico.
Oh yeah.
And there's supposedly one single gun store in the entire country, and it's on a military base.
Yeah, so they're not getting their guns from Mexico.
No.
What if 2025 wasn't just a year of grind, but a year of ownership and flow? That's the idea behind my first ever 3-day virtual event this February. It's not just a conference, it's a movement, and it starts with you. Over 3 information-packed days, we're going to tackle everything you need to take control, from finding the perfect business to negotiating killer deals to building the mindset of a true owner. This isn't just a theory. We're bringing in laser coaching on real deals and sharing the exact strategies to spot opportunities everywhere. Here's the thing. This isn't about me. It's about Owner Nation, a collective of driven, unstoppable individuals ready to rewrite their futures. This is your movement and your moment to connect with others who are fighting for the same goal, freedom through ownership. No one else is doing this. We've never done it before, and I think it's the first of its kind. So it's your shot to be part of something bigger when it comes to ownership. Visit the link in the description to save your seat, and let's make 2025 the year we own it together. This week in particular, with the book and everything that's happening and this idea of financial freedom, it takes me back a lot to where it all started, which is a series of women who had no freedom and nobody cared about them, and they died brutally and they were completely forgotten.
And so you think it's a matter of resources that solves it before ideology?
Fuck yeah. I think money is protection, and I think money is freedom.
Yeah.
And why do we think that people who have less money have more violence committed against them? Why do they go to jail more often? I don't think it's because they are poor and bad. It is because they don't have as much protection.
It's a result of the socioeconomic status?
Absolutely. I think that saying of when you have something to lose, you are more thoughtful on it is true.
Yeah.
And so, it took me back to that, and I kind of want to go back to the border to see what I remember and what's real.
Right.
But
so your stance on this is a little bit. So if I can just extract it a little bit more, is you think that the open border policy lends itself to more crime. It lends itself to more people being taken advantage. It leads to exploitation.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I remember you would just drive like not very far outside of Juarez and the wall just ends. And you could just like hopscotch back and forth along the wall for fucking miles. Neftali Fuentes, a guy that I wrote a story about when I was down there, he had said he had crossed the border like 100 times or something like that.
I imagine it's not even that much. I bet there's people who've done it thousands.
Yeah. Well, probably, yeah.
There had to have been.
Yeah, and I don't know how it's changed, but like it was really common back then. And he would get like caught sometimes and shit, but like it kind of didn't matter.
Yeah.
And
one side or the other, they were just kind of released regardless.
Yeah. And they had a couple organizations down there that would help people in the interim. So you kind of get the same like starter pack every time you got back from the border. So you could kind of get yourself set up again in Mexico. But, I just saw such tragedy there because people are not kept track of, and there's so much transientness, and that I think is where a lot of terrible things happen. And like where else in the world do you see the like hundreds and hundreds of women every single year being raped and murdered and left in the desert?
Yeah,
I mean, this happened for decades there, right. And I think a large part of that is because there's a huge border crossing and there's all this friction. I mean, some of those deaths have to be because of things Americans have done too, and so. It takes me back there and simultaneously reminds me why it's so important that we all try to figure out how to get a little bit more freedom and protection. And, and I remember talking to a lot of the immigrants we would help them before border crossings and write some stories about there's a series of old folks homes down there. And so, a lot of people would drop off their elderly citizens at these really derelict old folks' homes before they were going to try to cross into the U.S. because they knew the elderly person wouldn't be able to make it.
Yeah.
And then you would send back money to try to take care of them. But a lot of times you'd lose contact. They would, and I met multiple people like Carmelita who hadn't seen her family in like 10 or 20 years. So she was like all by herself in this like derelict place and subsisting off of like nonprofit, cash and.
No way.
Oh yeah.
So there's like essentially thick generations, right? Because there's a lot of children getting sent over because they have to be cared for, right?
Yeah.
And then there's the adult or working class, or working age of men and women who come over to join the workforce here in the U.S. I never even thought about where the grandparents or where the elderly or where the first generations fall in line.
Yeah, back then you could look. One of the stories we wrote about that won a couple awards was you looked at the U.S.-Mexico border, and what didn't make a lot of sense is as you looked at it that the age demographic was really old. Like the border region was more red, if red represented old, than most of the country. And the reason why was because a lot of these people were getting left behind. They called them los abandonados, and they were the abandoned generation. And so we wrote a series of stories on that. I think we were the first to break that story back in the day. But the part that I feel pretty guilty about from when I was young and dumb was just how excited I was to get some of the awards for that story.
Yeah.
Like Las Desaparecidas stuck with me more because I saw.
Because you're a young woman.
Yeah, I'm a young woman, and I saw brutally murdered young women, and just those images and the smell of a morgue will never get out of my nose, like fully. But that had been sort of covered before, so like it was so new to me, but had been covered. But the generation abandoned, that had never been covered before.
No, I hadn't heard about this before. I had no idea, especially living so close, relatively
to the border. Yeah, and so. So when we got those awards, and I went and took them back to Ala Prieta, to the main person I wrote the story about, whose name was Carmelita, who was like 87 years old or something, but looked like 400 years old. I mean, these people, just the care is so bad.
Yeah.
I have 99-year-old grandparents who look 20 years younger than this woman.
That's crazy.
And I remember her saying to me, now that America knows about this, about us, you're going to help us, right? You're going to reconnect me with my family. And that always stuck with me too, because I was so young, I wasn't going to be able to help her. And it was like, no, I know this is wrong. I know we could help, but we're not going to.
What do you mean you could help? Like us as a nation, or you and
Us
and
as
your
a
friends?
nation, me individually, maybe, like people, citizens, I don't know, like any of those answers. But one, that wasn't what a journalist was supposed to do. I covered.
Yeah.
I didn't influence. And then two, I knew that even though I wrote the story and we got all these awards, nobody was going to do anything different.
Yeah, isn't there like a law in journalism where like don't intervene in nature? Like you see some of these incredible photographs, incredible, striking, I think is a better word, right? Where there's a young malnourished child getting circled by vultures, right? Or there's, the famous one in Vietnam, right? Where they're executing men on the street. I mean, a photographer's just snapping shots. And I mean, there's countless others. Like, is that like a rule? Is that like an unspoken law? Is it, I mean...
You're supposed to be the quiet observer. You're not supposed to, at least that's how I was taught. You were supposed to be the one who documents, not the one who does. And
It's easy to become a target then, because you choose a side, maybe.
I don't think that's it. It's that it's what's happened to journalism today. It's like
But they choose sides though in journalism.
That's what I'm saying. But that's what's wrong.
I think. Got it.
Is it sounds better for you to, it sounds valiant to choose a side and to say, this is what I believe and I'm going to do this. And I understand why people would do that. But I think if you are a journalist, your job, in as far as I thought it was to tell what you see and really try to remove yourself. I remember the dean who edited all of my pieces would ridicule me for the first or second drafts because if there was any opinion in it, she was like, this is not an editorial. You are not an opinion writer. You are there to observe and document and tell the stories factually to what you see as humanly possible and nothing else.
That's so striking because in that short amount of time since then to now, everything's littered with opinion.
100%.
I don't think you can find many without it.
No, and in fact, when I was younger, I thought I was pretty righteous. Like, I was like, that's why I didn't stay in journalism. I was like, I don't want to write the stories. Like, I want to change them.
Yeah.
This is wrong. I want to tell them what's actually happening. And that's how I felt at the time, especially as like a young person so influenced by this. And she was like, this is not the playground for that. Like, if you want to do that, that's somewhere else, but it's not here.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important, and kind of to your point, even like the nature photographers, when there's like a little, animal about to get murdered by something, it's like, it's the circle of life. You're not supposed to intervene, but that feels wrong somehow.
No, I think intervention's also top of mind considering what just happened a few hours ago.
Yeah.
Right. With Daniel Penny being acquitted.
Oh yeah.
I think there was a generation of young men hanging on by a thread to what was going to happen on this. To hear, he was a service member, and to hear, just as a young man, what happens when you see, violence or purported violence or threats, and then you're disincentivized from intervening? It's insane. You hear these stories like our friend in the security world, Spencer Corson. He's talked about times where you hear these cases where there'd be a domestic dispute going on, a man just beating a woman senseless in public, somebody intervening, turns out, it's a husband-wife pair that are, drug addicts, boom, this guy gets sued, right, for assault. And she doesn't press charges on her husband, and it just goes down. And so to see Daniel Penny, where something like that happens when he intervenes, a man was still alive when police arrived, whatever happens at the scene of the incident, but at the end of the day, person protecting other people intervenes, and we put him through this incredibly difficult process.
I know. What are we telling people who help other people?
Yeah, I would love to see a movement for a Daniel Penny law where it's give some protections, afford some protections to people who intervene. And I know that would probably get tricky from the legal side of the house because there's so many nuances and variables. But from a base level, at least now, I think young men are now saying, okay,
opt out.
Well, now opt out. I don't know, because after this judgment, I think now it's okay, I'm not completely lost.
That's true, but I guess they put that guy through hell. So,
but again,
and if that was me, that woman on the subway, and no one came to my aid, could you even imagine?
Yeah,
what an awful society.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think you see it like from city to city, right? I mean, I don't think it was anything that we would find in Austin, Texas like that.
It'd be interesting to see. You know, you kind of don't know, right? Until
It's true. I say it now and I'm like, well.
Well, I would say it more like this. Like I remember the other day, you're just like, everybody thinks that they're going to do something and step in until it happens to them. Mm-hmm. Like, you know this. You've had many incidents that, you know, I won't say, that where somebody's done something bad and you've stepped up. You've been like, hey, something happened. It's not acceptable. I do not allow, you know, violence to happen near me in this way. So, like, I'll answer the call. But I don't think a lot of people answer the call. I think a lot more people than realize it. Like, isn't there what's that phenomenon called where, like, it's
Tragedy of the Commons.
Tragedy of the Commons, yes. But there's another one that's like where when something happens but there's a crowd, they assume that the other people are going to step in and they don't.
Ooh, I don't know.
We'll figure it out later. Somebody will tell us in the comments. But basically, that's the idea. Is like you're basically like, somebody else will deal with it. Somebody else will deal with it. Yeah. And that's how like terrible things happen in big groups.
No, well, mom mentality, but it's like the anti.
It's like it's like
because you can hide them. You can hide, you can commit violence and hide amongst a crowd because if you're all guilty, no one is guilty.
Yeah, exactly.
But if you single out an individual for it.
Yeah.
Or you make the assumption that somebody else will intervene.
Yeah. Well, I remember when I was a journalist in Phoenix, I did a ride along with a cop, and we got called to a house for domestic violence. Okay. And he was like, "Oh, we're going to XYZ place," and he's like, "It's this lady and this guy."
He knows about it.
He knew that. Yeah. He was like, "Oh, it's Sally and Tom again." Wow. And we get there, and let's call her Sally. Is like beat to fuck. I mean, she is like bleeding. She is disheveled. He's obviously fucked up. And she's like, "Oh no, you know, nothing happens here." And the policeman tried to talk her, and he's like, "Nothing. Something obviously happened here. What happened? You know, you called us," because she had called the police to stop him from beating her to death. But then when the cops get there, for whatever reason, Stockholm syndrome or whatever, she goes back on it, which apparently happens a lot until the guy and you know, whatever. So we had to leave, and I remember saying to the policeman, like, "I'm like, obviously that man beat the shit out of her. What do we do?" Like, and he's like, "Listen, if they don't press charges and they don't, unless we see something happen where we have a right to take that guy into custody, we legally can't do anything. And no witnesses because she was the one that called. And so there's nothing we do." And he's like, "And the saddest part is he'll eventually kill her. Because that's what we see happen."
Statistically, that's
like statistically.
That's terrible.
And, yeah. And that really stuck with me. And then I remember over the course of that night, the next place he got called was like a bar or something. And we picked up a homeless guy who just proceeded to piss all over the back of the police car while we were in it. You know how there's like the cage in front. And so the thing just fucking reeked. And then we have to drop him off. The guy's got to handle him and everything, that he's got to clean out urine like from all over the back. I mean, I can't think of a worse job, honestly, sometimes.
I hope we have a major switch in how we think about service-based jobs. I really, really hope that we significantly turn around how they're compensated, how we think about them. I mean, I think to the entirety, like teachers. I mean, like your mom was a teacher for 30 years. Yeah. Oh my, and what she had to deal with on a daily basis. Like, I have so much respect for her and the fact that she was able to come home and be a wife and be a mother and be as, like, patient and as impactful as she was and still is for you and your family. Because I don't, like, that would drain all. Because think about it, like, how many unruly kids at times, because, you know, special needs, and so not necessarily all of them were unruly, but they had to be managed constantly, right?
Yeah.
And so I could just imagine like how difficult it would be with one or two, and especially of your own, but you know, a classroom full of 15, 20, even 10.
Oh yeah, that was tough. Plus that was crazy. Like back in the day, I don't give her enough credit. I really should. 30-year special education teacher. She'd get up at 5 a.m. to go drive to Mesa, which is far from us, to be there at like 6 o'clock. So that school started at like 7. She had to prep stuff beforehand each time. And she did that for 30 years. And then back then, special education was always in a trailer.
Not only that, but it was like it wasn't diagnosed. They didn't separate.
No,
100%. But also like the aptitude of the children.
Oh,
it wouldn't separate them by.
No, you could have extreme.
Whatever. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, she had one student who would like shove thumbtacks under her fingers, and she would always
Under her fingernails.
find thumbtacks all over the place, and so they'd be bleeding just crazy stuff. And another one that would get really upset and was a bigger kid, and so would start screaming and ripping off their clothes and then run around naked. And it was an elementary school and a middle school, so young kids don't need to be seeing all those parts and stuff. And
the support infrastructure has to change.
Totally.
When people tell me how little teachers make, it's you're paying this person, expecting them to be a new contributing member of society, yet we treat them at minimum wage levels.
Yeah. But she loved it for a long time. I think the reason she eventually got out of it, remember, she told us, was because they ended up wanting the teachers to restrain the children, bodily restrain the children.
Oh yeah, the hug. She was saying the power hug that they were covered, that she was trying.
She was just they
were trying to train teachers to do.
I'm not going to put my hands on somebody else's kid, and I don't have any interest in that. And so she ended up retiring. But man, I think I thought I would have a bad day, and then I call her.
Yeah.
What the story though that I think you should tell if you want is, do you remember? Of course you remember the story about the guy and the final night. And
are you talking about that night when you had the military leader who had to kind of give up his land, where his family and generations had fought and died? Kind of. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, in the semi-autonomous region of Iraq known as Kurdistan, there was a local military commander who had deep family ties. His family had been there for generations, and he had built an incredibly successful telecom company in the region that had enabled cell phone usage in the area that just hadn't been available in the area for decades, right? Lagging significantly behind modern infrastructure. And he was a Peshmerga leader, and the Peshmerga is the fighting force of the Kurds, and each man participates in the Peshmerga. It's compulsory service, but it's 10 days out of every month. I mean, it doesn't matter what walk of life you come from. You serve in the Peshmerga. And he had been a commander for the area, incredibly well respected, incredibly well regarded. And this was during the counter-ISIS campaigns. And later, Iraq War, Operation Inherent Resolve. And I remember the conversation that I had with him, because we were given an order to leave our area because there was an internal skirmish from Iraqis and the Kurds. And essentially this was towards the end of the conflict with ISIS, where they were declared military defeated in the country of Iraq. And the Kurds and the Iraqis, have butted heads for a really long time. They've had just a lot of disputes, and that's a nice way to put it. If you go back and you look back on what was done by Saddam Hussein against an entire ethnic generation, it was just awful.
Kurds.
Yeah, and when you have a conversation with this man, these are other people that he had fought with side by side for the last few years.
The Iraqis.
Because now the Iraqis, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And they had a common enemy in ISIS. And I think the hope always was that these two groups would hopefully find peace, right, in their want for a peaceful, to rebuild Iraq. Mm-hmm. And so this man who wielded incredible power, who had incredible influence, extremely wealthy, just sits there the night before we leave and talks to us about how this is just an accepting factor of history in the area. Because
what is an accepting factor?
Because the Iraqis were pushing the Kurds further away back into, traditionally older Kurdish territories, areas that they had bled and fought and defended, so that ISIS didn't, move eastern from, Iraq through Kurdistan all the way to the Iranian border. They had held their position, they had fought them off. And, you see the Iraqi forces the next day turn their weapons at the people with whom they've been fighting alongside, for the last few years. And a lot of these individuals, right, men my age and younger, even a lot that were older, had not experienced the crimes against each other that their past generations were responsible for. And so it was, a blood feud. It was, we were bred and born to dislike one another. And I mean, there's a ton of politics and ethnic dynamics that are at play, but you have this incredible helpless feeling because you spend time and lives and resources thinking that people change their ways, or at least the course of history might alter slightly instead of reverting back to what it's been, because there was the defeat of a common enemy, right? There was a common goal achieved with one another.
So basically, the Peshmerga and the Kurds helped the Iraqis defend against ISIS for years.
For years.
And the second that ISIS becomes eliminated, the Kurds live on really valuable land.
Yeah.
A lot of resources.
Yeah. I think
And the Iraqis come in and they take everything back from them.
Yeah.
So they wouldn't fight the hard wars. They let the other guys die
No,
for them.
they fought the hard wars. They absolutely did. I mean, the Iraqis lost a lot of lives, taking back Iraq from ISIS. But this is an area that, was extremely rich in energy resources, right? I mean, it's beautiful green rolling hills. It looks like Central California.
Kurdistan.
Yeah, Kurdistan. People don't realize. They think of it just a forgotten, desolate desert. It's not. It's a beautiful, thriving metropolis.
And that's not very much of Iraq, right? That is
No.
a small portion.
It's a small portion-ish, but it's more significant than you would imagine, right? And so Kurdistan, right? The Kurds live across, western Iran, northeastern Iraq, southern Turkey, and northeastern Syria. Mm-hmm. And they're treated there's a certain sect of Kurds that are treated like terrorists in Syria. The ethnic Kurds in Iran are welcomed as their own. In Iraq, it's still a very heavily disputed area. And I mean, when I say semi-autonomous, it's like the China and Tibet dynamic,
Wow.
right? Not too dissimilar. I mean, you have movie theaters, and you have restaurants and malls, and you see supercars driving around, and men are in suits. It's
In Kurdistan.
in Kurdistan. It's a very
What is it like in the rest of Iraq?
Not that, right? I mean, the rest of Iraq is it's a very it's a poor country. It is not nearly as modernized. It's not nearly have the amenities that we do. And people also don't realize in Kurdistan, it's not all of one faith, right? I mean, you can be of many different denominations and many different faiths, which just blows people's minds.
And you won't get attacked.
And you won't get attacked. You won't be persecuted.
But elsewhere in Iraq, you would be.
Absolutely, yeah. The fun fact, the oldest continuously populated city in the world is the capital of Kurdistan, Erbil, Iraq.
Yeah, which is where you were, right?
Around there and other places, yeah.
Oh, copy, right.
Yeah, cut that out.
Yeah.
So you see this guy, and you see resources, and so that's why I ask so many of these questions around it, because I saw a guy with resources. I saw a guy who changed. I saw him be the leader of these people who would do anything for him, who fought and bled and stood there at the edges of existence, knowing full well that the people who were helping him might turn their backs on him, or would likely if history had repeated itself as it did. And he had to go back to a life of which, how do I put this? He wasn't revered by his partners for what he did.
Mm-hmm.
He was thankless, and he was taken advantage of. And so I always wonder, right, the price of intervention.
Mm. Yeah.
I mean, for him, it's an existential threat, right? He has to. But at least for just once, had somebody allowed him not to live that fate. Just tough to see.
Fair.
And then it crumbles into, like a civil war type thing. And it's a messy subject.
You know what's interesting too is like, I say that money is the key to freedom, but it's like to a point, It's like money, but also we really got to watch out for too much power in the hands of the government, that happens.
I mean, I think hands of the government, but, we talk about mob mentality, right? And I think we talk about the wills of people. I think you can earn your way into constraints and in confinement in and of itself. Like getting on this hamster wheel.
For me, I don't understand.
He's talking about getting on this hamster wheel, right? Like, what was the old joke, in one of your old firms was like, "Hey, guy wants to buy a Ferrari?" Yeah. I might too.
Yeah. But he had to keep working.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I guess I think about it more like, I don't think most people realize in America, like if you've never seen the fall of a civilization in some way, it's really hard to understand it. Like when I saw how quick companies fell in Argentina under Cristina Fernandez, I was like, oh my God. Like everything that we have is actually super delicate and interconnected. And if we allow too few in positions of power to control everything, they can pull it all away.
Because it literally changed overnight.
It changed like basically overnight. And it like happens really slow and then it happens really fast. Is what they say about recessions too.
Right.
And I mean, the history of Latin America is all about that, right?
Yeah.
And and I saw the same thing, happen. Like I remember my brother was in Chile, like locked up in his room. Remember during the during COVID when they were having riots downtown all across. He couldn't leave and get anything out for like a couple weeks. And so like having seen that happen in those countries, I think I'm so much more protective of what we have here in America because it's fragile.
Yeah.
And you saw it firsthand. Like I wasn't in the center of power. I didn't know anybody in politics when I was, seeing some of that stuff happen there. You like actually engaged with the people who were running things and then had to watch it fall too. It leaves a mark.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because it makes me think about like, we talk, we protect the house.
Yeah.
It's like sometimes how, right? Or is it like, are you lying to yourself in terms of your ability to protect it all?
Yeah.
I
guess you do what you can with what you have.
Yeah. Watching civilizations crumble.
Yeah, but I do think like everybody talks about like, yeah, go travel and see the world. And it's like, yes, but like, just because if you've been to Chicago, like I remember when I lived in Chicago, like you're down on like the Miracle Mile, you're like at the Merchandise Mart, it's fucking gorgeous, like everything's great. If you only saw that area, you would never think that it was close to the murder capital of the US.
Yeah.
Because you never went south. And if you never went south, you never saw how close you were and yet so far from like a totally different world. And so sometimes I think like it's not actually travel that makes a difference. It's like experience,
Yeah, I think people like to substitute those words oftentimes. They believe
logo citizen.
The coach can say that. That their travel is an experience, and it is in of itself, right? But I still think it's important to understand what makes other cultures tick. Like I talked about earlier, when you have people feeling about the desaparecidas and los abandonados, like how do we view human life? How do we grieve? Because I would also argue that, their system was better for elderly care, right? You take care of your grandparents.
Yes,
you take care of your entire families. Whereas us in the U.S., we send them off.
Their communal system is way better, yeah. Their systemic nationwide system, fucking awful.
I agree.
But like they don't just let go of their elderly people.
No.
You know what also made me realize? Like, I think, I'd be curious your take, I think evil exists. There are
absolutely
evil motherfuckers that will do really terrible, terrible things. And it's hard to believe it if you haven't seen it. But it's our job to like protect against that if you have any resources at all.
Yeah, I say often, and I think you probably would agree since of what your experiences were as a journalist, but like I don't think I'll be surprised by human nature ever again. You know what I mean? The ability for someone to do something just so evil and lascivious or just so offensive against another person or society writ large. And I hate that that's the view. Like, don't get me wrong. I wish it was. I wish it wasn't a view that I held. But it's very difficult to be proven opposite.
Yeah, I think you're a very optimistic realist. You're like, lots of shit can happen. Lots of good shit can happen too. Well, I love you.
I love you. This was fun.
You exist in the world.
Me too, you. I'm so proud of you. What a great week.
Thank you. It's been fun. Yeah, I hope the book helps. I hope it makes a mark and people get a little bit more pushback on freedom.
I do too. We'll see.
All right.